Chapter 309, El Diablo 9, Completely Insane. Extra Chapter, Every plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. If I can only tear your inside out without your cursed fate acting up. Lucky me then. Ha. Curses me, a Daedric prince, cursing. Is the world going mad? Wait. I am the mad god, why wouldn't it go mad? Everything is going well then. Hey, I want my friend realize from that El Diablo thing. Oh. Your friend is El Diablo? That's a joyous occasion, worthy of celebration, birds chirping, people dancing, music ringing and then, blood, guts, limbs everywhere. No can do, my mortal friend. Your friend is free from mortal burdens now, be happy for him. He still has to get married though. Married? Married. You want him off the festival to get him married? Are you his friend or his nemesis? Yes, we are already late because of you. Ah. Which one of us is a madman? Oh, that's me. Then which one of us is an evil Daedric prince? Wait, that's also me. And you want your friend married? I mean, I know dismembering weighs less painful than marriage. Sheoth kept going on and on of how horrible marriage is. I was having a troublesome time making a mad god shut up. Will I get him or not? No, no, no. Sheoth shook his head. He doesn't have to do something that boring like marriage. How horrible! Getting married, growing old, losing money, losing appearance, getting cheated on, losing half what he owns after divorcing her for cheating. And the list goes on. Do you know why there are so many mad people in the Isle? Marriage. Wrong. Happiness. What do you think the Isles are? An after-marriage rehab center. Even though it would make great business teaching all those divorced people how to turn into homicidal maniacs. I have a great idea. I should give classes on how to flay people alive and dismember them. The College of Cloudrest would be a wonderful place to kick off. I'll attend the first lecture if you give my friend back. Sheesh, your friend is a madman, you know that. You can unmad him for me. You want me to do what? I'm the Daedric Prince of Madness. I don't make people sane. I'd have to be crazy to do that. And I am crazy. So I'll do it. I am glad we are on the same page. Don't be too hasty, mortal. There are still many things we need to do first. Sheoth said as he played with his staff around. First off, you need to find the way out of here first. Good luck with that. What is the catch? Oh haha. I do love it when mortals know they're being manipulated, makes things infinitely more interesting. Take a look around, do you know where we are? Enlighten me. Haha. Welcome to the deceptively verdant mind of Emperor Pelagius Septim III. That's right. You're in the head of a dead, homicidally insane monarch. Wahahaha. A mind realm? Last time I've been to mine, I found a creepy version of myself playing with myself's mind, or was it myself playing with me? Or the other way around? Don't confuse me, mad god. Get to the point. Sheesh. Mortal, you are a lost cause yourself, ain't ya? Fine, I guess you already know what you should do if you have been into one of those. Yeah, resolve the childhood fears and face the worst enemies and all that jazz. Jazz? Is it cheese? Music. Oh, would love to hear some. Look forward to it after we are out. Oh, the suspense is killing me. Or you, doesn't matter. Solve this realm and send us home. Sheoth disappeared and reappeared once again. Oh, almost forgot, you gonna need this. Sheoth passed a black strange-looking staff towards me. This. The Wabbajack. Didn't see that coming, did you? Now off with you. I'll be busy doing the fish stick. It is a very delicate state of mind. And he disappeared again. Sigh. That annoying runt of a mad god. I used to like him back in the day when I played the game, but meeting him in person put a huge burden on my mind. That guy was supposed to be the mad god of this era, the the protagonist of the former game that came before Skyrim TES 4, Oblivion. How did a player character become a Daedric prince? Simple, he mantled the past Sheogorath. The term mantling refers to the process whereby a mortal can achieve apotheosis. It is frequently considered one of the 6 walking ways. The fourth, and is sometimes called the steps of the dead. The mantling was described by the great Emperor Tiber Septim as walking like them until they must walk like you. The meaning of this is that the protagonist of Oblivion followed a certain set of quests and rituals guided by Sheogorath to ascend as immortal by taking Sheogorath's place and becoming him. This doesn't mean that the hero of Kvatch is alive, but he just became a part of the mad god. And why would a hero do such a thing to begin with? Well, here comes the part where I explain the reason why I didn't mind going against Sheogorath and cuss at his face. It is called fate. Something very slimy granted by the will of the world. The world knows that something is going to happen in the future and assigns an individual known as the hero to face the disaster. The heroes are always protected and guided to meet their fateful encounters by fate, and here where it comes tricky. Fate can protect the heroes from many things, and that includes the original spirits known as Daedric princes. Even though the princes are immortal and absolute, they will get hurt if they went against a hero, and that's something they would rather avoid as they are not infinite and can be said as parts of the world itself. Still, that same fate that protects the heroes gets rid of them once their job is done. A hero is a person that can cause great chaos with the mighty power they possess, and the world can't afford one of them going on a rampage without control. That is why there is almost nothing known about the heroes once they were done with their quest. Fairy tales say that they found peace and left to live alone, but that was never the case. A hero's journey always ends with their demise victorious or defeated. Most of the protagonists of every Elder Scroll game has an unknown end other than the Nerevarine, who became immortal due to circumstances and left to Akavir, while the hero of Kvatch escaped such fate by mantling Sheogorath. I am not sure about the mantling, but I guess he is dead in a way and alive in another. And guess whose turn is it? Anyway, all that doesn't mean I can go against Sheogorath or overdo it either. Sheogorath still can retaliate if he didn't mind losing some fingers. But at least he won't associate himself with me, and I will keep a healthy relationship with the demon of madness. How ironic. Sigh. I swear all this tension will give this handsome young man some gray hair one day, and I will look like that old man of mine. Can't afford it, never. Waiting in the throne room of New Sheoth Palace, Isha was going back and forth in wait. It has been a few hours since John has gone on his own with Haskell to meet Sheogorath, but only Haskell returned and stood still beside the throne. This labor that dragged her to the Isles of Madness was the strangest so far. A weird request from her prophet, a knowledgeable and powerful ally, a dangerous trip to Oblivion, and a Daedric prince to top it all. She just wondered how long will her final labor be. She has been calculating every move she made for the sake of the grand scheme of things, but this was a truly wild ride that kept her in worry all the time. While she was pondering back and forth, footsteps were heard from the direction John disappeared at. She held the spear of bitter mercy tightly, and her senses went up anticipating what may happen the next second. From that direction, an old gentleman in a bizarre purple suit appeared while holding a cane. He seemed to be amused while walking and shaking his head. He walked past Isha quietly and then came to a halt. Oh, isn't that old friend Bitter Mercy? Haven't seen that in a long time. Bad times back then, good times too. 3 wannabes got the butts kicked by one and ran crying to an old pal of mine. There was also that time with the stag boy Herson. Ha, should have seen the look on his faces when his beasts lost to mine. What else? Ugly people, crazy cagiate and acrobatics. Mortals were so agile back then, and they could fly as well. Where is Haskell? Oh, here he is. My friend other than friends I don't be friends with. Good to see you. How was the place going? The Isles missed you, my lord. I'd say dementia was brighter and mania was gloomier until your arrival. Oh, that bad? Good thing our mortal friend found me then, Sheoth said as he sat on the throne. Isha realized who was she in the presence of, and a chill ran through her spine. Daedric princes cause her to feel uneasy after a certain incident, and now she is right in front of one. What made the matter worse was a hand coming out of nowhere and patting her shoulder. Isha turned around in tension, but John calmed her before she does a rough action in front of the mad god. The rule that protected him was not applied on her. I skipped the boring quest, but of course John did it. Ah, my little mortal friend. I'm a man of many personalities, but tell you what? They're all very fond of you. I doubt that for some reason. Anyway, you can keep the Wabbajack, I will keep my staff and my fork. Alright. Look, Haskill. Forky's back. It's so nice to see him again. Congratulations for return, my lord. My heart quivers madly each time I remember the stabby pain caused by that fork. Haskill bowed in good manners. Oh, such good times. Let's go hunt some baby nagas with the fork after we are done. I'll make the preparations, my lord. Sorry to break the warm reunion, but I am on a schedule here. John interrupted. Oh, right. Haskill, how is El Diablo festival going on? Very good, my lord. We have a worthy candidate and a good chicken ready to lead the Kirkers to the show. Wonderful. Time for a celebration. Cheese for everyone. Hey. Oh, right. The mortal here wants to snatch our El Diablo. What should we do, my lord? Should I summon the torturer? Good idea, but it won't work. This mortal is too troublesome even for my standards. Let's make a trade, mortal. How about this? You do 3 things for me and you get your friend back, not demented or manic or even drunk. No dirty schemes. Just a little. Fine, no dirty schemes. I am listening, John said. Well, let's see. From what Haskill reported, you killed the gatekeeper. Make me a new one, a better one, Sheoth said in a maiden tone. Will this one be all right? John took out something large out of the cube. It was a giant bone samurai carrying a large crude blade. Oh, you were carrying one on you all along? Not bad, but no. This is too bony, befitting of someone like Molag or Dagon. You should see them in parties. These two compete on which one can put bones on each other together. Sore losers, they always get done by Merida when she torches everything they make in a fit of anger. Ha 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 ha. Wait, is that a Daedric prince's party or a kindergarten? Bwahahaha. Good one, mortal. So you want a new gatekeeper. Fine, what else? You said you invented a new kind of cheese. Looking forward to that one. And please, don't show me that Hammerfellian shrieking cheese. I literally invented that for them. Fine, but this cheese can't be served alone, it gets added on another dish. Wonderful. Wonderful. Eating, I love eating. My Daedric tummy is growling already. Extra cheese for the mad god, noted. What is the last thing? Oh, I don't know, surprise me for the last one. Never make it boring, remember? Not boring. I got you. A new gatekeeper, extra cheese, and a something crazy enough to surprise the mad god, tricky one. Good. Now go, run, fly. Do the 3 tasks and I will let you have your friend back and a reward on top of that. Sheoth waved and John sighed, wryly tired of the foolery of Sheoth. Fine. Let's go, Isha. John turned around and signaled the dazed Isha to follow. As the two went out, Sheoth sat with a wide smile on his throne. Ha 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 ha. This should be fun. My lord, that insolent adventurer, should we send him to Xedilian? The new upgrades and torture's tools will drive him insane before mercilessly butchering him. Haskill said. Murdering him? Driving him insane? Haskill, my dear, this is not good for business. Did you lose your senses or something of the sort? Excuse me, my lord? Haskill was confused. Sheesh, the boy you saw just now was insane. Completely insane, mad, crazy and out of his mind. He was perfect, I loved him so much. Insane? Haskell was taken aback once again. Bwahaha. Too insane for you or even himself to not even notice. Now that's a new one. How exciting. How wonderful. How marvelous. Let's watch and bring me cheese. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 310 El Diablo 10, Tasks and Rewards. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. Back at Irl's shop, Isha and I sat on a table facing each other. Out of all people someone can be friends with, you have the weirdest collection so far. Let's see a talking cat, a homicidal time mage and the Daedric Prince of Madness. Are you trying to drive me insane here? Me? I am very innocent, believe me. First off, Irl is a helpful guy, despite his peculiar taste in things. Seriously, man, stop taking selfies. Oh, it is exciting. Too many moments I need to capture. Photomancy is the best. I'll capture all the moments I can. Then I'll capture time itself. Wahahaha. Okay, Irl is shit, but at least he let us use his basement. Isha was glaring at me. Fine, I'll do something about those dangling tortured people. What about the Mad God? He is a great guy. Cheerful but moody, too moody for my taste, but he is a very deep person. If you listen carefully to all that nonsense he utters, you will find there are wisdom and secret knowledge coded in his untasteful jokes of how he will gut everyone like fishes and make decorations with their entrails. Yeah, whatever. Then what about your friend? John should be El Diablo now, some sort of a brainwashed warrior that leads the horde of the Kirkers to the festival. Something Sheoth came up with for sure. Putting El Diablo aside, you know that my labor is to stop El Diablo, right? Won't that be a conflict of interest between us? Isha said nervously. Well, you don't need to be such a muscle-headed person, I said. Excuse me. I am saying, stopping El Diablo shouldn't mean that you must kill John. We can just exorcise whatever that El Diablo is. I am sure it is a Daedra that possesses John. Fine. It makes sense. By the way, what are the Kirkers? Isha asked. Well, that's something new even for me. Haskell said that the Kirkers are those bird-like humanoids we killed on our way to New Sheoth. Oh, such strange creatures they are. You are right. Those Kirkers didn't appear at the game or even come from a mod. They were white or red feathered humanoids with bird heads and wings instead of arms that can't fly. Their weapons are the long beaks they have and the bird's legs with sharp talons. That all can put aside compared to how insane their eyes look. Do you think Sheoth will hand your friend quietly? No, I don't think he will. He wants me to make a new gatekeeper for his own convenience. He wants to eat my enchanted cheese because, well, he is obsessed with cheese. And finally, he wants me to entertain him. This is a tricky one. The Lord of Madness is all about manipulating mortal for no reason whatsoever other than what he calls fun. I doubt that he even knows the reasons behind his actions himself, but let's not focus on that. Whatever surprises the Mad God should be something otherworldly, and I know just the person. Who? That's classified. But let's finish that gatekeeper we are making first. It is going to need a lot of work. Yes, filthy business. In front of us, in the large basement beneath Irl's Mysteries, there were many corpses of various monsters lying around. I didn't hunt all that by myself, but as the wielder of the Wabajak, I went around and told the dark seducers of dementia to help me gather a few things to make a gift for Lord Sheoth. Still, if not for Haskell giving them the order to follow me, I would have to whack them around with the staff. Speaking of which, Sheogorath took back the fork of horripilation, and the staff of Sheogorath, and gave me the Wabajak. The Wabajak is a Daedric staff engraved with angry gaping faces at the top. Its effect is, how to say this? It is completely unpredictable, and it can't be used to cast normal magic either. Each spell cast from the staff can either kill the target by any magical effect ever known, buff the target by any magical buff ever known, or transform the target to anything from a harmless cockroach to a mighty Draymora lord. Why the gamble then? Why not? Anyway, back to the work at hand. I put the Wabajak aside and transformed Greed to act as my hands rather than a long trench coat. Wow. Krylon, what is that? Isha witnessed Greed in action for the first time. Something I love to keep close all the time. The clothes I was wearing under Greed were expensive clothes for the Battleborn wedding, so I didn't want to dirty them during the journey, but I had to change them in the cube before I enter this slaughterhouse. The corpses in front of me all gathered by the hard-working masses of the dark seducers. They were large skinned hounds, which are undead hounds whose name described perfectly, some Oscalans, which are aquatic humanoids that carry strong diseases in their scales, and finally, we brought some poisonous fangs of the elytras, the gigantic and very poisonous mantis ant crossover native to the Isles. Protecting myself and Isha with magic, we picked the largest 3 hulking skinned hounds. One of those things is at least 3 meters in height. We cut their heads and their bodies evenly and started putting them back together in the shape I wanted. We then skinned the Scalans, and used their skin to cover the creature we put together. Of course, the fangs of the elytra were added to the mix. The result was a perfect mix of madness and otherworldly fantasy. What do you think? I asked Isha. Seriously, man. Who are you? Bwahahaha. I present to you drum sounds made by bardic knowledge. Cerberus. Clap 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 clap. Genius. Ha. Amazing. Marvelous job, mortal. Haskell, look. You completely lost the bet, waha. A 3-headed hound covered with the hazardous skin of the Scalans and armed with the poisonous fangs of the elytras. That's why I love mortals. So creative. The Cerberus I created was as mighty as Sheogorath described. It was something that made me so envious and regretful I didn't make a copy of. Good, this Cerberus will be your gatekeeper then. I passed the staff that controls the Cerberus to Sheogorath. Oh, thank you, you made my heart quiver madly, mortal. I love it, but it makes me wonder, you are the creator of that mighty Cerberus. Does that mean that this beast can defeat you? Sheogorath gave off an evil grin. Isha's face turned pale as she looked at Sheogorath with angry expressions. I am sure being screwed over in such a way, especially after creating a magnum opus like the Cerberus. Many kings killed their best architectures after creating impenetrable palaces for them, but that the mad god I am dealing with. I guess there is only one way to find out, right? I said. Oh, really? Fine, get him, boy. Sheogorath signaled for a Cerberus to attack us. The large 3-headed black dog glared at me with its red eyes and jumped towards me, or it was supposed to do so. Sit. With one word from me, it sat down shaking its 3 idiotic heads left and right. In my hand, I was holding a medallion and made it dangle left and right. The 3 heads of the Cerberus were following it with utter confusion as its 3 heads were struggling to focus on the medallion at the same time causing the Cerberus to stop the attack mode. Sheogorath kept looking at the weird situation. Dogs. A flaw of creation in my opinion. If I really wanted to give you a beast that can't be conquered, I would have given you a cat. One single cat stationed at the gates of madness is enough to stop a whole army of adventurers in my opinion. You know what, mortal, next time I go on a holiday, I will take you with me to ride narwhals in the ocean and you will ride at the front. Consider it my revenge for this one when the times comes. Perfect. Looking forward to it. I said, now, Haskell, point me to your kitchen. This way. Mortal, what is that? Esteemed mad god, let me introduce you to the following dishes that will blow your mind if you have any. First off, the Margherita pizza, the mother of all pizzas, may God save the queen. This piece of classic art has a thin crust, fresh tomato sauce, enchanted mozzarella cheese, and a few leaves of basil. I pointed to the next plate. Pepperoni pizza, America's favorite. Back at my home country, if you love that pizza then you are a Western spy, but still, everyone ate it in secret. It has my secret recipe of pepperoni that uses only top-quality beef. All that grace hammered with a thick layer of enchanted gooey cheese. The next plate. Here comes the beast, the grilled chicken pizza for chicken lovers like us. Made with barbecue sauce, chicken, cilantro, red onions, and enchanted fontina cheese. Comes at number 4. My mama's personal recipe, extra mozzarella, extra Turkish cheese, green pepper and variety of olive. Smells like home and feels like love. Of course, it is all enchanted. The last plate. This is my own recipe, something I came up with back when I was trapped with 2 homicidal perverted roommates in the 13th floor of a residential cheap building. The pizza loaf. Good for taking away, good for a picnic, good for work, good for school, and even good for a Daedric prince. The pizza that can survive the apocalypse in your pocket, just for you to take it out and have a quick bite while slaying a dragon or rescuing a damsel. Of course, the cheese. To die for. The 5 plates were made with the best resources I had either in the cube or at the kitchen of the mad god. It was one interesting kitchen to tell the truth. Anyway, the mad Sheoth I am used to was no more. He turned from the made cheerful buffoon to an expert appraiser of food, a gourmet of madness if I picked the words right. Haskell. Yes, Lord Sheoth. Hold this one for me. Sheoth picked up a pizza slice and handed it to Haskell. He then bit on its tip and started to walk backward. Looks like he figured out how the enchanted cheese works. The mozzarella cheese started to stretch with Sheoth as he walked backward. The more he walks back, the more it stretches. Guards! Haskell signaled, and the seducers and saints around the throne room started to support the string of cheese that kept stretching with Sheoth. Goodness! Isha's eyes almost popped out of their sockets by the sight of my elongated gooey cheese. Even Sheoth, who almost reached the front yard of the palace, didn't reach the limit yet. Well, good luck. I took a chair on the dining table and took a slice while sneaking another to my shadow. My secret agent should be hungry after this long day of hard work. Mortal, I am flabbergasted. John, play your turn already. A resurrection card. Ha! The deck of the Shivering Isles is indeed the best. You wouldn't know what happened next. Yes, I know, I designed it to be a chaotic, but powerful deck. You never cease to surprise me, mortal. You know, you remind me of myself back in the day. Oh! The foolery of youth. Back then, everyone looked so ugly and rounded. Crazy times. Old Dagon is having a grudge on me ever since. A spy card. To your face, mad god. Humph. You think this spy card tactic will always work for you? Behold. The Everscamp card. God card. Kine, I choose you. Dirty schemer. Haskell, down with it. Yes, Lord Sheoth. No, I was calling the Haskell card. Oh, I see. PSSSD, mad god. Why does Haskell look so down? Oh, between you and me, he doesn't feel well appreciated if I don't give him work for 4 hours straight. And I win this round. Seriously, is this game going to end? Nope, don't forget our condition. You have to win 3 matches straight for me to be fully entertained. Fine. Hey, which Daedric prince do you detest the most? I don't really hate any one of them in particular. Sheoth started thinking. I always tease Periite till he blows up. Dagon is still stingy with me. Herson is also holding a grudge when my beasts beat his once, and he lost his favored spear to me for a few 100 years. Molag used to come and play, but ever since I've beaten Vermina and showed her nightmares she couldn't handle, he stopped coming. Azura, Bothia and Mephala are not really appreciative to my work. I call them the boring three. The rest are not much better. Almost forgot Malakath. What's with you and him? I mean, have you seen his realm? Nasty place if you ask me. Well, at least he is popular at parties. Every Daedric prince makes fun of him, even that skinny Periite has his fair share of fun with Malakath. What about you? Me? I made him eat his damn son once. Ha! It was hilarious. You should have seen his face. Even that high and mighty Meridia made fun of him. Oh, you bad bully Daedric princes hating on little poor Malakath. I couldn't help but copy her voice from the game. Waha! Exactly. Then she spilled a pile of dung on him, saying this will make another little Malakath grow. Gross. Malakath was created from dung. It happened when Trinimac fought Bothia and the latter ate Trinimac, and literally shitting him, turning him into Malakath and his worshippers into orcs. Nasty piece of lore. Oh, what a game! It has been so long since we had guests, right, Haskell? You would have loved my old Uncle Leo back in the day. Charming dinner conversation, when he wasn't bringing up old girlfriends. Literally. Regurgitating them. Nasty habit. Can you stop bringing up gross stuff? Waha. Why not? I am pretty much entertained. Wait. I am entertained. Yes, we made it. Yes. At last. That was too much for one lifetime. I admit it, Sheogorath was too much for my head to handle. He finally admitted that he is entertained. That was one wild ride. Where is John Battleborn? I cut straight to business. Fufufu. Mortal, you are truly persistent? Shouldn't you take a reward first? A reward? Yes, you entertain me, and I promise you one. Now tell me, what do you desire? What kind of question is that? Exactly what you heard, mortal. Well, it sounds so suspicious. Exactly. And you are not leaving without desiring anything, and take it out with you. Damn it. Another one of your mind games. Ha. You are truly very wary of manipulation. Now tell me and hurry up and decide it. I hate indecision. Or maybe I don't. Make up your mind, or I'll have your skin made into a hat, one of those arrow catchers. I love those hats. This guy never stopped playing mind games with me, and I always avoided him. Now he is pushing me into a corner. Damn it. On one round, the bet was my life and I barely survived. The other round, he kept betting on my members and I was fighting with my all, and now he wants me to wish for something I am going to regret later. The idiom said, be careful what you wish for, but I am sure taking a wish from Sheogorath always backfired splendidly. Fine, how about this? Then allow me to call you Uncle Sheo from now on. Sheogorath froze like for real, he froze. Haskell too, the guards, the fires on the candles, the weather itself stopped. You, Sheogorath's hand trembled, you. Nephew? It started raining outside all of a sudden and Sheogorath was still in shock. You have acquired the agent of Sheogorath. Oh, for fuck's sake. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal. me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon. com/Eldokmizi. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 311 El Diablo 11. Escaping New Sheoth. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. Agent of Sheogorath. Blessing of the Mad Championero. When activated, your fatigue and injuries recover 25 times faster than usual. Wow. A strong vibe of power enveloped John as he felt a strong surge of energy within his energy center and felt invincible for a second. He looked between the system screen and Sheoth and wanted to say something, but the latter was making a face he has never seen before. Nephew, say it once again. Yeah. Uncle? I felt it. Haskell, did you feel that too? Yes, Lord Sheoth. Congratulations, there is someone fool enough in this world that agreed to be your kin. Finally! Wahahaha! This will be amazing. Family gathering, holidays together, every new and old life festivals, birthdays. I can't even rope my head around all that. It will be fun. Fuck me dead. John swore within. I will stop you there, mad god, he said. Call me uncle. Sheoth lashed. Uncle, I will stop you there for a second. You know that the following events in the next chapter of my life won't need more drama than it already going to have, or comedy in your case. Point is, bad idea. Don't be worried, Lord Nephew. Lord Sheoth only takes a vacation once every 50 mortal years, that if he didn't manage to sneak away while I am not looking. Haskell assured John. Oh, good. I'll be depending on you, Haskell. How rude. You two are conspiring on me at my face? Hey, Uncle Sheoth, where is my friend? Oh, right, where is El Diablo Festival going to kick off this year, Haskell? At Heretic's Horn region, Lord Sheoth. The portal to the mortal world will open in less than a few minutes. Wait, what? You were trying to waste time all that long? John lashed out right away. Waha! Didn't see that coming, did you? Anyway, this is about the right time for you to start chasing after your friend, nephew. The game is a foot or a leg or all manner of severed limbs. You only need to catch your friends and slay the mount he is riding to retrieve him without a hitch, no schemes or ulterior motives as promised. Sheoth revealed his grand plan. John's face changed color instantly. He realized that Sheoth wanted him to go after El Diablo once he has wasted enough time for El Diablo to be prepared. Damn him! How manipulative! John thought. Tisk, let's go, Isha. As they turned around and were about to leave the palace, the windows, gates and all the other gaps were blocked either by doors and locks or by seducers and saints. Before you go, nephew, shouldn't we have one last challenge? For example, how will you leave the palace? Sheoth said as he sat smiling on the throne. You really don't get bored, do you? Ha! With you, nephew, not a moment is dull. Shit! Isha seemed to have reached her last bit of sanity, and was about to lash out too. She let John deal with the mad god because she was too scared to do so, and John was doing a damn good job, but now the mad god is manipulating them with force. She pointed her spear, and was about to use it to call out some storm Atronax to aid her, but John's hand patted her shoulder. She looked behind her to see John snorting, as if he was grinning under his mask. Hee. Uncle Sheoth, you two never cease to amaze me, but I am sorry, your nephew is going to be a little bit rude and leave without a proper goodbye. Ahoho! I would love to see you try, nephew. Sheoth said as he rested back on his throne. Uncle, did you just dare me? Why not? I dare you. John smiled and shook his head. Remember this one, uncle. If the dare can be a sphere of power one day, I'll be the Daedric lord that rules over it. See you, uncle. John said with an arrogant tone and called out. Nefertiti now. Just as he said so, he held Isha closer, spread greed around them. Once the formless weapon covered them like a cloak, a large black cat appeared from its outer side and pulled it through a strange portal that appeared out of nowhere. In less than a second, John and Isha were not in their place anymore. The indifferent look on Haskell's face turned into a frown, the naughty smile on Sheoth's face froze, the seducers tilted their heads, and the saints stepped back. My lord, I am not sure how this. Haskell. Yes, Lord Sheoth. Did my nephew just make a fool out of us? I am afraid so, my lord. Should I call the torturer? Would the torturer know how did my nephew escape from my hall? No. Then why call him? But just a moment ago, that thing that pulled my nephew was a black cat, right? Yes. And it was a being that neither you nor I could sense the presence of, right? Yes. In my realm, where I rule, there was a being that I couldn't tell how it lurked around? My realm, which basically an extension of me? I don't think I have ever heard of a being that can do that, Lord Sheoth. Haskell said. Oh. Ha. I think we know of a certain race that has the potential to develop such features to rival even the Daedric prices, dear Haskell. Sheoth said, and the smile on his face became even wider. Fairies! John and Isha appeared outside New Sheoth City with Nefertiti waiting for them there. Now, my dead Daedric UNC. Hey, I haven't finished my line just yet. Too slow, human. John and Nefertiti started quarreling while Isha was looking around dizzily. How did we? She looked at John, who was pinching Nefertiti's cheeks while she was scratching his hand, and realized that those two freaks were clearly after it. Last time she was shocked senseless by John was when he got along with Sheoth, and she decided that this man is very abnormal, so there was no need to be shocked each time, but this time, he escaped from the clutches of a Daedric prince. In truth, John and Nefertiti were planning for an escape route before even entering the city of New Sheoth. He told her to not come out of the Shadow World after they were done with the gatekeeper and left a part of agreed with her to be able to open a shadow portal through the Shadow World. With such power, not even Sheoth would see it coming. Hey, you two, this is not the time. We need to find your friend, Isha said. Oh, almost forgot. John froze in his place, then he took out the map and checked the location that Sheoth mentioned. Heretic's Horn is to the east. Not too far, he said. Fine, let's run. Sadly, that won't work. It will take us at least an hour if we didn't come across a single monster on the way. We need a fast ride. John started casting a spell, and 2 flame Atronach hawks appeared. Let's roll. John and jumped on one and it started flying. Isha, who made her mind not to be surprised, got shocked again, then her shock turned into anger. Hey, if you could do that from the start, why didn't you use it on the way here? She was genuinely mad, but John was already in the air. She looked at the Atronach hawk that he left for her and growled with anger before figuring out how to ride it. A few miles to the east, a large horde of Kirker monsters were gathered around a large rock near the Aegean Sea. On top of that rock, there was a strange man holding a large sword, and on his head, there was a strange mask. The mask was that of a chicken head mask. It was half white and half red, and the Kirkers looked at it with admiration. Those strange creatures that resembled humanoid chickens with scary faces and large chicken legs were an incarnation of nightmares that Sheoth was dearly fond of, but what John and Isha saw from the air was real madness. How are we going to go through all that? Isha asked. I have no idea. John carefully looked down and started to ascertain the best plan to take action, but that was still a bit complicated. It seemed that the number of the Kirkers down there was over 1,000 or so. Even the great John Dare would think twice before making a move against such a horde. He can summon up to 300 undead creatures from the Soul Crane, but because of such massive number his control will be off, and they would just follow simple orders like attack and don't attack. With an Ozidal's ring of necromancy on him, he can buff them all to rival troublesome monsters like the Kirkers, but his control won't be improved one bit. There when he got enlightened by a good idea. Necromancers with my power can control up to 150 undead creatures with ease, but going over that criteria would make the undead stupidly immovable, unless they were commanded by undead like them. Some necromancers chose to turn into a lich like Mannimarco for the sole reason of the large number of undead they can control. If I needed to control those 300 undead easily, I know just the guy. John looked into the cube and commanded Odakuro, the hulking bone samurai, to get ready. The Kirker on the land were still cheering and screaming as their leader El Diablo started to shout madly too. John was looking for the weakness that Sheoth and Haskell mentioned, the mount of El Diablo. Sadly, there was no such thing and El Diablo was only standing on his feet. John wasn't bothered by the fact, as he had an alternative plan anyway, but now he needed to get to John Battleborn that was possessed by that El Diablo thing. Nefertiti, take Odakuro down. Nefertiti followed right away. She went into the cube, held on to Odakuro and teleported outside to the ground right away. Isha, hold my hand. John pulled Isha with telekinesis from the flame Atranak hawk she was riding and held on to her. He then switched the suicide attack mode of the Atranak hawks and aimed them down at the Kirker horde. Bang bang. 2 large explosions hit the flanks of the horde, killing more than 200 at once. If John could level up from that attack, he would have become insanely strong. Not minding the silly idea that appeared on his mind, John levitated in the air and landed behind Odakuro and Nefertiti. He then took out a conjuration staff and started to summon an undead horde of his own. In sheer seconds, 200 Wraithman warriors and 100 Bonemen archers appeared around John and Isha. They were all black skeletons with deathly cold aura and glimmering blue eyes. Krylin, the Kirkers, they are coming. I know. John didn't even spare the monsters a glance and ran to Odakuro. He took off some bones from his back and stuffed the staff in after liking it with the magica reactor in Odakuro's head. Make sure to convey my orders to them. Now, all those undead creatures were under Odakuro's control, and it was under John's control. John's commands to Odakuro were transferred from it to the 300 undead creature with ease. John couldn't help but smile. Perfect. Sadly, even Odakuro has a limit, but it is still far to reach and way better than mine. While not realizing it, John has created a terrifying Death Knight that will shock the whole hidden forces in Skyrim and also the Empire one day not far. And he has his own undead army too. If he was only my type. Isha started shaking her head. What? I am everyone's type. John heard her. Realizing that she thought out loud, Isha wanted to slap her forehead, but she didn't. I like men with childish faces and submissive personalities. She said what she thought, the opposite of John. Damn. A feminist and a Shotokan, you are a hopeless person and you will die alone. John looked at the buff girl beside him up and down before cussing at her. The two didn't mind cursing at each other friendly. John and Isha may not be the type of each other, but they were developing fast friendship, a friendship forged in the realm of madness. Listen up, John, my friend is that fool with the chicken head over him. His current weakness is his so-called mount that we did not see yet. You need a mount too, may I borrow that? John said and pointed to the Spear of Bitter Mercy. Here, but the enchantment won't listen to you. John took the spear anyway and activated the enchantment without a problem. He used the spear's function to summon a storm Atranak horse. Here you go. It can do that? Isha was shocked when she knew that her spear can summon an Atranak that she can ride too. I will teach you the trick later, but right now you need to stop El Diablo for me. Odakuro will lead the undead I summoned and I will figure out how to take us from here. Right? Isha was excited with John's plan. Right at this moment, El Diablo, or rather John Battleborn, also led the Kirker monsters towards John's undead. With an overwhelming numerical difference, El Diablo was sure of his win and summoned his mount. Between the ranks of the Kirkers, a large monster started to advance towards El Diablo. It was something so bizarre and none expected to see coming at all. John couldn't help but hold his stomach and explode in laughter. Isha's eyes widened and didn't understand how this creature even existed. El Diablo jumped on his mount and acted as if he was the king of the world, that was riding on a giant chicken. Giant chickens appeared in the Elder Scrolls legends, but the Kirkers are my own idea. PayPal, 50SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 312, El Diablo 12. How tastes your meat? Extra chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra chapter, 8,000 vote. Just as John said, there is no better companion than the undead when someone ventures in oblivion. Not bound by morals or laws, fighting fire with fire is not a bad strategy, especially when the enemy is some sort of creature that only manifests in nightmares. John's force consisted of 300 undead creatures, showing a grand result in the first showdown with the Kirkers. The Wraithmen, which are heavily armored skeleton, withstood the first charge of the Kirkers, and gave the archer bonemen in the back a chance to shoot arrows at those beasts. In the front of the army, a hulking bone samurai waved its crude blade and moved nimbly between the enemies in a speed unbefitting to its size. John has indeed done a splendid job installing combat techniques into that lightweight pile of bones. But not only Odakuro was the one who was shining, but there was also a very strong streak of lightning going through the ranks of the Kirkers. Isha was riding the Storm Atranak horse that was summoned by the Spear of Bitter Mercy and felt she was finally in her natural habitat. The battle maiden that was raised in the warring times between the Crowns and the forebears of Hammerfell finally got to show her real skill at horsemanship and spearmanship. She was tearing those creatures apart as if they were nothing, just with one sting from a bitter mercy. La 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 la. She howled a battle scream and kept rushing towards El Diablo on his chicken mount. Amidst her rush, an abnormally large Kirker, with the features of a cock rooster rather than a hen, jumped towards her from the side with its talons, seeking to rip her apart. Isha was faced with either gambling and dodging the rooster Kirker or losing her charger while blocking it. There was no much time, and Isha was about to block, but a large black shadow flew over her head and landed on the rooster Kirker, obliterating it into pieces. Not tasty. A large black cat appeared on the dead rooster Kirker, pressing its head to the ground and mashing it like nothing. Nefertiti then sunk in shadow and appeared somewhere else as the Kirkers started getting smashed under her mighty paws. Isha couldn't be surprised anymore and only kept a fierce smile and charged forward towards El Diablo. As soon as she reached her target, a violent clash occurred between her and El Diablo. John Battleborn wasn't focusing on training lately, so his skill wasn't like John or Wolfer, so he would lose to Isha, who was on the level of Wolfer, but that wasn't the case. Just as John predicted, he was possessed by something. By just her intuition, she figured out who was the real El Diablo. It was the giant chicken. The power of John Battleborn seemed to have increased drastically for his normal level, and dragging a long battle would be dangerous for him. John started conveying orders to Isha and Nefertiti through telepathy, and the two cooperated in dragging John Battleborn and El Diablo away from the horde of the Kirkers. Odakuro, return. Odakuro slew the few Kirkers that were surrounding it and dashed towards John, who finished preparing the spell from one of the time magic tomes he gained from Earl. He kept the spell on hold and moved away from the protection of the undead while being covered by Odakuro. As soon as Odakuro reached him, and both were away from any fighting, John put his hand on Odakuro and controlled the undead army through it. First, he broke the defensive formation and turned the battle into chaos, then cast a very daring spell. Corpse Explosion. The spell was conveyed through the undead to the corpses of the dead Kirkers and to the undead themselves. A large tremor could be felt and the land started to shake. Not just a single explosion but a series of large explosions of magic energy, Kirker meat and feathers, bone shards and broken weapons, even the dirt, wood and rocks of the forest. Everything around the battlefield turned into a hellish scene. Fuck. Even John himself didn't see this one coming. His magicka was strong lately, but how strong did he get? He was very focused on meditation without watching his state rising, but the sheer density of the magicka itself was mortifying. He even estimated that the explosion can be heard clearly in New Sheoth. Putting aside John, the ones who were not caught in the explosion, who are Isha, Nefertiti, El Diablo and John Battleborn, were staring at the explosion and forgot their battle. Homan, awesome. Do it again. Gods! Buck bok buck buck. Baka ak. El Diablo seemed to have been pained because of the large loss its kin suffered and no longer cared for Isha or Nefertiti. The power of the giant chicken was above and beyond any normal beast. Only the Firemane's grisly scar-bears and frost direwolves would compare to its might. It disobeyed its rider, who was going to focus on Isha and Nefertiti, and charged madly towards John. Krylin, watch out! Isha shouted atop of her voice, and directed the storm Atranak horse she was riding to chase after El Diablo. Nefertiti sank in shadow, and sped through the shadow world to reach John first. John was fully aware of what's happening, and instead of facing El Diablo, he stored Odakuro on the cube, and started to run. This way, you stupid chicken. He kicked the ground towards the large boulder John Battleborn was standing on before the battle, and ran with all his speed. He was so fast that the giant chicken was struggling to keep up. John reached the boulder right away, and found what he was looking for, the place of the portal. Portals from Oblivion to the mortal world were hard to open, especially from Oblivion due to the protection of the dragon god Akatosh, but that was no problem for John. He simply could use the skeleton key. A keyhole formed itself on the place of the portal and click. Stop making that sound! John shouted at the skeleton key. But the poor object had no power but to take John's magicka and open a portal. As the portal opened, it was wormhole towards Mundus rather than a direct gate. John did that using the principles of space magic and time magic to apply his scheme. El Diablo and John Battleborn reached John, and only a few meters were between them. John was ever so vigilant to his back, and just as he was about to get attacked, he teleported behind El Diablo and attacked it with the Thursdayum. Fuss! A strong wave of raw force pushed El Diablo into the portal. The two couldn't resist, the push fell into the portal. Homan. Krylin, are you alright? Yeah, we don't have enough time. Get ready. John cast the spell he was preparing from the beginning of the battle on the portal. The portal colors and actions started to change, and a great amount of energy came from it. What is that? We are not only going to travel through space but through time too, John declared with an ecstatic voice. Is that alright? Isha was hesitant. Well, no one did it before, so it should be, right? Tall Papa, save me. She was on the verge of tears, but time was up. John dragged her and Nefertiti into the portal. Riverwood. John and Isha appeared right outside the place where he left a mark behind the wall of Riverwood. John checked with the augur that couldn't reach him in the Shivering Isles and confirmed the time. Perfect. He was excited and started sneaking away towards the mountain across the river without making a single trace of energy leak out. Isha was following him, silently waiting for him to fill her in, but she still had a strange feeling. Krylin, are you feeling that too? She asked. I know what you are going to tell, but don't follow your hunch this time. If you did, you may cause a dragon break, he said, and kept walking silently. A dragon break. A time break, to be accurate. Dragon breaks are when realities collide and all come true at once. Don't worry, when the current situation is over, that feeling will go away. She didn't understand what was going on, but as soon as John found a place in the mountain forest to hide in, He looked back at Riverwood and pointed. Look towards the place of the prison cell where the Oblivion Rift was, he said. Isha looked towards it and focused her eyes. For a strong warrior like her, it was no problem to see this far. What am I looking for? She asked. Wait for it, here it comes. John made sure to block the sounds around them in case Isha freaked out and… Gods! She did freak out. Hee. Awesome man, I look so cool from afar. John and Isha were watching something that did not happen in fairy tales itself. Just over there in the village, there were two versions of themselves sneaking into the prison cell of Riverwood. The two versions seemed to be focusing on each other and didn't notice John and Isha. About a minute later, the two versions opened the Oblivion Rift and traveled through it. Okay. It is done now. Wait, what was that? Isha shouted. John smiled under the mask. There was no problem in her causing a ruckus now. We traveled back to Mundus not just by space but by time. We came a few minutes earlier to when we left. What? How is that even possible? The answer is the simplest of them all. It just works. John made a particular tone while answering the question. Don't just works me, explain it. Was that us? Yep, the genuine very us from the past. I couldn't exactly tell what time we should arrive on, but I didn't miss too much. Remember when you arrived in Oblivion one day before me? Yes. It was then when I realized that time travel is possible. John, my friend, didn't miss his wedding after all this madness. Ahahaha. Aren't I just awesome? Fuck. Isha was at a loss of what to do or say. She promised herself she would be cool around John and not get surprised like an idiot, but that one completely got her. The only reason we couldn't meet our versions was because of an event known as the Dragon Break. It is when the time of the world gets injured and the dragon god become forced to put back all the realities together. If we met them, there will be two Krylin and two Ishas. Understand now? I see. Actually, we are not done yet. El Diablo should be traveling through the portal here. I delayed their arrival, but I can summon them now. Are you ready? I am finishing this labor and will never see you again, right? Probably. Good. Maybe the two past versions of us return as two mad villains that want to haunt us and take our places, so we should, just in case. Stop it. Okay. Just kidding, just kidding. John shook his head and cast a spell towards empty space, and a portal appeared. He then cast a few other spells and used the skeleton key to make the last touches. Here it comes. John put back all the tools spells he had and took out Bloodskull, waiting for the arrival of El Diablo and John Battleborn. The portal moved chaotically and a large figure jumped out of it. El Diablo and John Battleborn fell on the ground. John and Isha looked down at them and smiled. How tastes your meat, Diablo? PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 313, The Spokesman. The 5,000 votes extra. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 8,000 vote. What do you mean I got drunk and walked through the forest to Riverwood? My friend, you got sank yourself in mead yesterday. I doubt that you even remember anything you said or did. I guess you are right. I am no milk drinker who can't hold his drink. Tell me, how much did it take for me to get pissed drunk and pass out in Riverwood? 2 barrels, I think. Oh, I think I outdid myself this time. Thank you, my friend. Here, take this hangover remedy and get dressed in those. I handed John Battleborn a clean robe that I prepared beforehand. He was already cleaned up in the river, and everything was going well. Thank you, John. I don't know what I have done without you. No worries, John. All right, John. What is the time now? We are not that late, John. We still can make it with magic. Ahaha, you are the smart one, after all, John. Well, what are you waiting for? Hold on tight, John. You are enjoying this thing with our names. Right, John? Yes, John. My name in my past life was very common, and I used to do the same with my friends who have the same name. Oh right, apparently my real father is also called John too. Damn, John. You found your real father? Yes, but it's a secret, John. He is way too ugly to relate to me. Well, I don't think whatever, John. I carried John Battleborn with telekinesis, and flew up with levitate. It took me nearly 5 minutes to cross the woods of Riverwood at my top speed and finally reached Whiterun. Flying over cities was banned throughout the Empire, so we had to land outside the city in a hidden place, then run to the city gate as fast as we could. Once we were checked out, we headed towards the Greymane Manor. The one who met us first was Wulfur. "Where in Oblivion have you been?" he asked. "In Oblivion, the Shivering Isles to be exact. Anyway, is everything okay?" I said. Not really, the Imperial spies showed up. It seemed that they decided to confront us directly without sneaking around. What did those fuckers do? John Battleborn turned pale in an instant. They came with the Jarl as his guest. Of course, they will try to cause discord between the families, so you should be wary. Also, you are late. The elders are getting impatient and the Imperials will surely take advantage of that. Damn them. Leave it to me. Just look dignified and follow my lead, I said. What will you do? I will be your lawyer. I mean your spokesman. As the three of us agreed on what to do, John Battleborn walked in with 2 massive hooligans behind him, Wolf and I. The old White Wolves team from almost 3 years ago. The first sight that we saw was the elders and the males from all the clans sitting around the fire pit in the Greymane Manor. They were Alfred and Idolaf Battleborn, Irland and Vigner Greyman, Jarl Balgruuf the Greater, as well as other esteemed gentlemen from around Whiterun. Behind the seats of the men were the seats of the women. I could see Alina and Alfina as well as the other old and young ladies. The gazes that fell on John Battleborn were heavy and sharp. He looked around and walked right in. Father-in-law. The 2 nodded to him without saying anything. You are late. Thorold Greymane spoke. Oh yes, brother-in-law. I was busy doing my things and took me quite a while. Was hard to get into these fancy robes. John deflected Thorold smoothly and the latter smiled without going further. John Battleborn was mentally prepared for all manners of provocations during this event. Still, the elders didn't seem to be intending to move the situation. I could figure it out as Jarl Balgruuf was here, and he still was the head of Whiterun and had to say a word for the sake of courtesy. Yet he looked troubled and the next words didn't come from him but from the Imperial man beside him. I heard it is very rude to be late for your wedding here in Skyrim. Something about tradition and that. Looks like the young generation is not that much into traditions. The man talked to the people around him but with a voice audible enough to be heard by the whole gathering. As the elders heard what he said, signs of dissatisfaction started to appear in their eyes. The Imperial was indeed bold, but John Battleborn was still at fault. Uncles, Jarl Balgruuf, esteemed guests, I walked past John Battleborn and greeted the gathering. Thane John Dare. Thane John. The people nodded to greeting and focused on me. Last night, my brothers and I went on one of those bachelor parties where things go wrong in every inconceivable was. Very funny was last night. I remember this guy drinking 2 Honningbrew barrels on his own. Quiet the sight, believe me, I said and turned around to face the other direction of the gathering. But that's not what is important here. What is important here is that we gathered here today to celebrate life and success, and that's what we'll be doing. What I love most about us people is how far that can go and how far can we sacrifice for the things we desire and the ones we love. A man that is willing to go to the ends of Nirn to protect what he desires, to bash through what hinders him from left and right for the sake of his loved ones, now that's a man I can trust," I said as I patted the shoulder of John Battleborn. "Oh, if they know things we do for love." I turned around and faced Alina and Julinar, who were standing at the back. The elders who were sitting around nodded to those last words of mine. "We Nords value tradition above all else and honor the forefathers and boast with their glories all day long. Grey Manes, the finest smiths in the land. Battleborns, the wealthiest traders. All with grand history and far glory that reaches the name of the ever so honored in the Hall of Shor, Iskromer." Yeah. Well said. The people started to finally heat up. Yesterday when my brother and I were swimming in mead, my brother John Battleborn over here whispered something to me. He said that he was thinking of the fairest maiden to his eyes, and he wished to do something for her, something that revives the old traditions and brings honor to her name. I, as a dead drunk back then, may or may not have mentioned something about making a grand deed. I started to pull the interest of the people around me. John almost tilted his head as I was clearly making up things. That night, my brother John Battleborn went on his own when everyone was passed out with a sword in hand and entered the forest to the south. He swore to hunt a mighty beast for the sake of Alfina. Oh! The people gathering around were in awe. It was a foolish act yet brave and manly. They were all anticipating what John hunted. Just to put your minds at ease, I am not going to tell the details of the hunt. It was way too chaotic, and the notion of a mighty beast can be very weird in the perspective of a drunken person. Ha 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 ha. Laughs echoed through the hall. Show us already. Yeah, don't hold us all that time. Fine, fine. Everyone, clear the place in the middle, I said and moved everyone to the back. A little bit more if you may. I urged them back a bit more. Just how big was his hunt? Someone asked. He said it himself. A drunken person perspective can turn a tree into a beast. Ha ha. Yes, it happens. As the people cleared the place, I spread my hands around and a large magic circle was formed above me. It was just a distraction for me to take out the thing from the cube. Thud. A large thing hit the ground and the people around the hall jumped away. It was El Diablo. A deathly silence followed the appearance of the giant chicken. Everyone simply looked at it while going through some sort of a lag. Even John Battleborn himself was frozen. I have convinced him outside that he hunted a large beast, but I didn't give any details due to the tight time. I am sure he will handle it well. Anyway, I walked beside him and held his arm up while shouting, "Yeah!" The people looked at me with frenzied eyes, then realized what had happened. Yeah, yeah. The situation turned into complete chaos. For such a chicken to exist, it was something worthy of making a ruckus after all. What saved John Battleborn was the fact that he was drunk and he didn't remember a thing, but he was still proud of the result and acted as the king of the world. I left him with Wolfer and the rest and headed outside the town to a certain estate. It was the Dare Dragon Company's outpost. Before I go in, I put my Krylon mask on, then walked inside. Krylon. Homan. Two ladies were waiting for me in there. Isha and Nefertiti. I trust that you two hand a safe journey to this place, I said. Yes, thanks to little Nefertiti here, I didn't have to lose my way again, Isha replied. Thank you for letting us have El Diablo. It will be cooked now, you should wait and have a taste. Another time, my friend. I had enough madness for one lifetime ever since I met you. Ha! Sorry about that. The atmosphere was a bit empty as we're done with our journey together. Here, I prepared this for you. I handed her a magic tome. This is how to use the Spear of Bitter Mercy's function to conjure storm Atronak mounts. You will find a spell for it and many notes I added. Oh, thank you, Krylon. I guess I will learn magic then. She took the tome and kept it. We looked at each other once again, and she spoke. I guess this is it. I guess so. Well then, till I see you again, Krylon. You too, Isha, she said and walked out of the estate, but before she passed the door, she stopped and looked at me. Hey, remember that time when I told you about the labors? You didn't take it rather well back then. She brought out a topic I didn't want to hear. Hey, don't worry too much. You are a capable person, the most capable in my opinion. Whenever your labors will come and whatever it is, you will make it, man. She said as if she read my mind. I am not worried about the labors, I said. I know. No one does, no one should. What we all fear is what they hold against us. You sound like a guy who has much to lose, Krylon, she said. Yeah. Don't worry. I am heading to my final labor now. It will be in Morrowind. Gods know how long it will take, a year too. She paused then spoke again. I miss my brother back in Hammerfell. But I know that nothing bad will happen to him until I am done. Don't worry, friend. Don't worry. She said those words and left. I was standing with solemn expressions behind my mask. I knew the day is drawing nearer and the Azura will come to claim the price. Little did I know that the wheel of fate has already spun. PayPal, 50SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 314 Delivering. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. 4th of Sun's Dusk, November, 4E197. 1 week after John Battleborn's wedding in the Firemain clan grounds, John arrived with Nirina, Alina and the rest of the household. The ones who met him after the mountain tunnel were his cousins. Hafthor, Vladimir. John Hild, you are late, cousin. Where is mother? At the keep, you've got to hurry up. The group sped through the Firemain glade and town, arriving at the keep at the end of the road. John walked in the place where his height wasn't that remarkable and passed through his relatives until he arrived on the second floor. He was led by the servants to a place where only his father Jonrad and his grandfather Tormund were waiting. Patriarch Tormund, brother Jonrad, how is she? Nirina asked. She has been in there for half an hour now, but how did you arrive that fast? Tormund Firemain asked. We received a telepathic call from Grandma Jenna. Master Nirina teleported us at the gates right away. Alina replied. Yes, magic. Explains everything nowadays. Tormund didn't think too much about it. John Hild, I wanted your mother to see you before she goes in, Jonrad said as he patted John's shoulder. Why? I just wanted her to focus on your face so she can do a better job with the kid she is going to deliver. Can't have another kid as ugly as you. Do you want me to mess with your face, ugly old man? You too, take it out. Sorry, father. Sorry, grandfather. Earlier this morning, Hilda had the signs of giving birth as her water broke. The whole clan was flipped upside down and the second floor of the keep was fairly emptied for her. John was summoned by the telepathy scroll that Nirina left for the firemen's and they arrived as fast as they could. Of course, it was faster than what anyone would expect. With everyone waiting outside the door of the room where Hilda was giving birth, the events going inside were pretty much audible. Damn, did you feel that? I feel like Hilda punched someone. Jonrad thought out loud. Or someone punched from inside. John had a more terrifying thought. Kid, you are evil. Just what I caught from you, old man. Young John and old John were having their own spar of words just in front of the door, but what they didn't expect was a large woman coming out of the door and sending them away like loosened kites with a push. Out of my way. Someone bring some warm water here. Scotty Firemain brought a wooden tub and shoved it at the nearest ones in front of her, who were sent flying. On it, Alina took the tub and went on the errand. I think we should move out of the way. Good call. Time passed and the two oversized troublemakers were called back again. Jonrad, they need you in there. Tormund pushed Jonrad towards the door and nervousness started to appear on the latter's face. Jonrad and Jon both were nervous since Hilda went in, especially Jonrad. He was trying to not worry Jon by acting normal and funny around him, yet Jon noticed that since the beginning. Now in front of the door, the only free ones were Jon and his grandfather Tormund. Grandfather, do all the men in the clan act cheeky when they get nervous? Jon asked. Ha. It's the theme of the family, boy. I see. I took that one too. What? You are all a firemane, the most one of us. Safe to say, other than me and the kid that is being delivered right now, you are a firemane from both the father and the mother. If only. If only. Sigh. I check the stars before dawn every day since last month. You mean? I see. Apparently, Tormund Firemane was checking on the stars every night to see if they would turn into the Serpent constellation or not. The Serpent would come any day, once a year, and very randomly at that. To Tormund Firemane, his grandchild Jon was born under it, his son-in-law Jonrad was born under it, and V was born under it. V Firemane, Jonrad's father and Tormund's cousin, who was as close as a brother, one of the survivors of the Great Collapse, and the former patriarch of the clan. He was born under the Serpent too? I thought serpents can't be patriarchs. They can't. Well, it was only him and I, along with few children and women, that survived and went to seek shelter at the Moonblade's home. I was injured and he led the Firemane bloodline to survival. We needed a miracle to establish ourselves again, and we bet on the fate of the Serpent. We survived, thrived and grew to what you see today. I see. Not too bad then. The Serpent, I mean. Tormund didn't reply. Jon felt the awkwardness in the air and spoke. Mother asked me to check for the stars too, and it seemed that this is not the night of the Serpent, Jon said. Tormund turned to Jon with questioning eyes. You see, my grandmaster, Nirina's master, is an almighty powerful wizard. I did he a favor lately and asked her about the Serpent Night. It seems to be happening at the first days of Dawn's star, December, Jon said. Oh, I see. Thank you, child. Tormund's face became better. If V's another grandson was also born under the Serpent, then the line of Ve was truly favored to be tested by the gods in Tormund's point of view. Tormund always wanted to see one of Ve's children to inherit the title of the clan head one day, and now it seems possible. Father didn't tell me much about him. Grandpa V, Jon said. He was a large warrior who favored the small weapon. Axes and arming swords, not too much of a long sword wielder like you. Just give him to axes or 2 swords, then point him somewhere. He always delivered. I followed him since we were lads, but he was older, and he wanted to leave for his own adventure. He ended up in Cyrodiil, and became a mercenary. Not much love was for Cyrodiil then, especially after the Mede dynasty taking over and the Oblivion crisis still fresh in memory. When he returned, he was on some sort of a quest to hunt down some evil that got some of his friends. Not sharing much with me back then. He kept it all in his mind until Winterhold fell, and we struggled till we reached here. We thrived thanks to him, but he was still being haunted by something. After your father was born, he left the clan for me to lead and went on some hunt somewhere. We heard he is fighting a great enemy and went after him. We took the ships and sailed west. The Moonblade swore to follow, and our sworn brother Jor Moonblade, Sigurd's father, came with me. Jonrad was 16 by then. Tormund, who got immersed in the story, halted as he noticed he was going to tell a grim tale. Jon didn't ask his grandfather but kept looking. A tale for another time. Maybe your father will tell you. I see. What about my father? What is there that I don't know about him? Jon asked. Just look at yourself in a mirror, boy. You will know. Tormund smiled and said, Come on, Grandpa. I'm way more handsome. See you, your father and your grandfather, you are all that stubborn Nord that you can't tell anything to without cracking your skulls first. I am not going to disagree here, Jon said. Oh, one last thing you have in common, you three are all clever men. Clever man is a Nord native word that means mage. Grandfather V was a mage too. Not that much. You are a better mage than your father is a better mage than his. From what I know, each one of you had a style. You are the bad image of mages who do strange things that no one understands. What is your specialty, if you don't mind me asking? Thanks, I am a mystic. Well, Jonrad is the famed King of Ash. He likes to burn stuff and do things like dragons. A dragon knight. Yes, that's the word. V was not that much, actually. Hildy fights like him. A healer who fights and heals himself constantly to keep fighting longer and longer until they sink in a blood sea of their making. Your grandfather liked to enchant too, and he was good at it. Really? Is there anything I can see? Jon's eyes brightened up. Here. Tormund took his sword and showed it to Jon. Isn't that Gram? Jon asked. Yes. Gram is the sword of the Firemane Patriarch, the sword that represents the family. An ebony one-handed sword with a golden hilt and a magnificent craftsmanship. Jon always admired the sword, but he knew that Wulfr will be able to craft something similar one day, but now as the sword was in his hand, he could feel the enchantment on it. The first was a flame enchantment, as expected of a Firemane. The second came as a bit of surprise. It was truly domineering and powerful, a disintegration enchantment that can break weapons and armors like mush. Truly amazing. Jon's eyes were lusting for the sword now. Keep it in your pants, boy. That's exactly where it is going, Jon said. Can I try something? I promise I won't cause a scene. Fine, but do it away. Jon nodded and pointed the sword away from the crowded area, then called out, Greed, and told it to mix with a Gram. A one-handed ebony sword with a great craftsmanship was mixed with a shadowy entity that can transform items into a version more befitting for the nature of enchanting soul and the enchantment type. The result was shocking. Gram transformed from its normal Carolingian sword appearance to demonic one, much like a Daedric sword from the game. Greed, which had the ability to show the true nature of things it mixes with, showed an image Jon didn't foresee. Grandfather, do you have any details on the soul Grandfather V used to enchant this blade with? Jon turned around and asked Tormund, whose mouth was open agape. Jon retreated Greed back under his sleeves and handed the sword back to his grandfather. What? The type of the soul that was used for the initial enchantment. I suspect it is the soul of a Daedra, am I right? Jon asked. Tormund was still recovering from the shock, but he shook his head. The soul, it is not. It was a vampire's soul. Your grandfather was a vampire hunter. The revelation that Tormund let out was shocking, but Jon wasn't taken aback that much. Vampire hunting is a noble cause if the vampire was a harmful one. To Jon's knowledge, vampires from the game and vampires, in reality, are really a world apart. There are normal vampires and noble vampires as expected, but the power and the diversity are far beyond the game. Vampires were an interesting research topic, but Jon kept it under the rug as there weren't much details outside the forbidden section in the college's Arcaneum. I guess that's to be expected from my dear family. The grandfather is a vampire hunter, the father is a dragon knight X-Blade, and I am a Dragonborn. My dear descendants, please don't disappoint your forefathers and conquer the world. Jon was shaking his head left and right while sighing. It seems heroics were deep in the family. But still, the story that Tormund won't tell got him thinking. Jon knew that his grandfather V died in battle defending Tormund and Jonrad, and that was a thing that the two of them don't prefer to talk about and turn cold if someone asked them. A few in the clan know the tale, but John can't ask really in the open. While his turmoil of thoughts, the door to the room opened and John Rad walked out. A silly smile was hanging on his face and a blue bruise around his left eye. John laughed and Tormund shook his head. Yeah, your mother is a feisty one. You can come in. It's a twin. A boy and a girl. PayPal, 50SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 3:15 Thor and Idun. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. Asterisk a week later. Star. Look at those two cuties. John Hild, if you wake them up, you won't see the end of it. Roll over here. Yes, Ma. Just on what basis can one denied to the right of getting close to those two cuties? I understand they are the devils that can't be put to sleep easily, but they are way too cute. A boy and a girl, that's what the family was blessed with. The boy is Thor and the girl is Idun. The cute aura they emit can melt away any aura in existence. Even Nefertiti is very fond of them. She comes to see them from afar then runs away immediately. Curious little humans she calls them. My real brother and sister that share blood with me. Now that's something. Nirina discarded all her duties on Lonoth and decided to stay in the Firemane clan a few more days, or maybe months depending on how can we force an overpowered Dunmare mage to leave. And speaking of Lonoth, we had to send Uncle Tyr to her as it seems the two share a history that I am not informed about. Anyway, it was very peaceful and harmonious around here. Everyone gave Hilda her space as it seemed that her skills of raising kids got rusty. She was perfect at keeping one from falling into the hands of the Thalmor though. The one who was happy the most was Jonrad. He made a few parties here and there and danced till he fell. Each day was a celebration of a sort during the past week. Because of the Firemane's long lifespan, that is double the normal Nords, the birth rate is low but having twins is quite the common thing. This is all due to the giant's bloodline in us. Hilda and Scotty are twins, cousins Vladimir and Veka are twins, cousins Signy and Eirik are twins and so on. Thor and Idun. You decided on those names too fast. Oh, that was when you were born. We didn't expect anything to happen back then, so we planned those names for the newborn, whether a boy or a girl. The idea of calling you John Hild only came to us after we realized we may not continue together as a family for a long time, so we had to keep you with something of us, and John Hild became John. If only we knew you would become this ugly. Jonrad said. The only reason I am not beating your face to a mirror is to not wake up those two angels, I said. You two hate looking alike that much? Hilda asked. We are nothing alike. Suit yourselves. You two are sleeping together in the barn by the way until you sort out that ugliness thing between you. Hilda said. Come on. Don't be like that. It's insolvable. How can you even ask for such a thing? That's final. Fine, I am going out for a drink with Bragi. Jonrad excused himself and went out. I watched him pick his katana and head out. He always keep his weapons close just like me. Damn, too many similarities. So, how do you feel? Do you want me to do something around? I asked Hilda. Oh. Will you listen to this good boy? You finally decided to put down whatever you were tinkering with and decided to help me? In my hand, there was a light screen and I was trying to apply a new method of a binary enchantment on it. I was just working, you know. Yeah. Keep doing whatever that is and don't come to me when you can't see anymore. Fine, I know a few healing spells that can cure blindness anyway. Suit yourself. Hilda was in a good mood after Thor and Idun went to sleep. Oh right. I spoke with Grandpa about combat last week. Good. Your grandfather is really a great warrior. I can't defeat him no matter what I tried. Yeah, we spoke about your fighting style too. He told me that you learned something or two from Grandpa V. He said that? Yes. I was choosing my words carefully here. Hilda looked away and nodded. It is true. I learned something or two. I was very young back then when he was alive, but I heard about the way he fought and I imitated it, till I came with my own. I see. How did Grandpa fight then? Father fights with a sword and shield like a true war chief. I am asking about Grandpa V, I said. Hilda looked at me and narrowed her eyes. Why is this sudden interest in your grandfather? Nothing, I just got curious because of your answers. Curiosity killed the cat. It wouldn't dare. This saying offends me a lot. Ha ha, oops. Almost woke the kids. Shut up. Hilda looked at me and smiled. Don't bother about learning my style and go learn from your father. I am not trying to do so. Really? I thought you were curious because you wanted to learn. Learn fighting like a mad person who doesn't bother getting injured to heal himself over and over. Sorry, I have my own fighting style and I am quite satisfied with it. Then why are you asking? Fine, Grandpa let me hold the family's sword Gram. And I checked the enchantment on it, then learned it was enchanted by Grandpa V, so I got curious. Father let you hold Gram? Hilda was taken aback for some reason. Father doesn't let anyone other than Jonrad and Sigurd. Oh, I see. She thought for a while, then looked at me with narrowed eyes. I know that Father sometimes has a big mouth. What else did you get from him? Nothing, why would I? Speak. Father let you hold Gram, which means he opened up for you. You are smart, John, but I know my father way better. Okay, I found out that enchantment soul of Gram is a vampire soul, and Grandpa confirmed my suspicions when he told me that Grandpa V used to hunt vampires. So he told you. Hilda seemed bothered by the fact. And, listen, John Hild, I am going to conclude it for you. Vampires are a sensitive topic in our clan and in the Moonblade clan. Don't go asking around and get yourself in trouble. All you need to know is, your father Jonrad and father-in-law Sigurd have a big grudge against vampires. Your grandfather V.E. and Alina's grandfather Jor Moonblade were both killed on the hands of those creatures, and just because of the danger, we managed to convince Sigurd and Jonrad to not go after them. Don't you open up old wounds, son. Understand? Why, yes. Hilda's tone was annoyed, but I could see that she was very sincere. So V. Firemane and Jor Moonblade, sworn brothers to Grandpa Tormund, were killed by vampires. This matter is getting deeper and deeper. I am not sure if I will like it or not, but I think I shouldn't dig around the subject for now, and let it go for the time being. You are leaving already. Sorry, Hilda. That boy will cause a scene if we don't go back. Hilda and Nurina were saying goodbyes to each other, but it was really hard to part from those two little cute brother and sister of mine. Homan, look. They are dreaming. Even Nefertiti couldn't keep her eyes off them. This goodbye is getting harder by the second. Do you really have to go? Hilda asked. Yes, I am having an important meeting in Solitude in the next month. The High King is calling for an assembly before the yearly tournament. I need to assemble a team to represent Winterhold and ready some stuff for the event. You know how things go with politicians, you can never be extra careful around those twerps. Then I wish you luck, kid. Come see your brother and sister after that is over. Hilda said. Now that I think about it, if nothing rudely appeared in my schedule, then I am free after the assembly. That's good, I promise I will come. I will come to get you if you didn't, and it won't be nice. Hilda hugged me and said so. Fine. That day, I departed from the clan grounds hoping to return after a month or two at the very most. The assembly will take a lot of my time and effort, and Wulfur will be leaving to Orsinium, the orc kingdom between Skyrim and Hammerfell. Anyway, the assembly is what matters now. I don't Ulfric Stormcloak, Layla Lawgiver, Dengir of Stun, and Skald the Elder would attend this assembly. They were already trying to press Jarl Career not to go and sent a few messages for me. I also suspect that Skald the Elder, Jarl of the Pale, will do something rash if I traveled through his land to Solitude. The man is completely nuts. Last month, we received refugees from his hold, but that was not interesting. The interesting thing was the identity of these refugees. They were giants. It seemed that Skald doesn't like me so much to the point that he pushes the giants and mammoths from his hold to mine. Handling the giants is actually something that needed to be done before leaving to Solitude, and lucky for me, the firemans agreed to lend a hand. Aunt Scotty will come to talk some sense into those giants. Still, there was that feeling that I was missing something and things were going wrong from a direction that I was not watching. I just couldn't get rid of that feeling. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 316 Loose Ends. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. For bodies collided with each other in a close manner, erotic moans and huffs went loose only to be blocked from leaking outside by the trusty enchantments on the walls of the room. John and his women were having a love night in the middle of the night in their home. Ela was opening lying on the bed having Jelinar over her, whose waist was raised while being bounded by John. He, on the other hand, was carrying Alina and engaging with her in a heated kissing battle. He switched between the three girls every now and lined them up to have his way with them. Unlike the other girls outside his household, those three girlfriends of his were all powerful warriors that can withstand him going all wild. The loving Alina, the energetic Jelinar and the wild Elo were the best he can ask for. Other than them, ordinary girls don't last anymore. He even stopped going to the bathhouse after what happened in the Shivering Isles. After putting the three girls down, and they laid nude around him, he started thinking of the rise of power he possessed. He looked at the status window provided by the augur and sighed. ++++++++++++++. Status: John Hild Firemane John Dare. Human Nord. Level 9, Iron Bone Stage, Dragon Frame Realm. Vitality, 1521. Magicka, 3979. Powers: Agent of Talos. Fortify Thursdayum. Agent of Kine. Empower Thursdayum. Agent of Allmaker. Root of Power, 2500% Magicka Regeneration. Agent of Sheogorath. Mad Champion, 2500% Vitality Regeneration. The Guardian Dragon. Ashen Flame. Black Book. Obardic Knowledge. Shadowstone. Blur. Fortify Speed, Hide in Shadows. Fortify Sneaking. Firemane. Titanborn. Beast Master Fireborn. 50% Resist Flame Element. Nord. Battle Cry, Frost. 50% Resist Frost Element. Battle Spirit. Tyrant Aura, Mad Aura, Lightning Aura. Magic. Mysticism. Expert. Destruction. Expert. Conjuration. Expert. Enchanting. Expert. Alteration. Adept. Restoration. Adept. Illusion. Apprentice. Alchemy. Apprentice. Thursdayum. Unrelenting Force. Clear Skies. Aura Whisper, Frost Breath, Fire Breath, Whirlwind Sprint. +++++++++++++. God damn. When did I become this ridicules? John shot up to level 9 Iron Bone stage after meditating the past few days, and was on the verge of a breakthrough to the next stage. The power bestowed on him by Sheoth was surely something, but there was a sure surprise that John discovered there. He understood that the blessings of gods are like marks they cast on mortals. These marks are made of energy, and it is possible to absorb it. With further process in his meditative training, John was sure that he can turn those blessings from a mere gift into independent characteristics that are part of him and not from the authority of some original spirit. The idea was terrifying in a sort. He can have as much power for his own for life, even if he went out of the influence of those original spirit. What are you smiling at? Alina seemed to be still awake. Nothing. Just a few ideas in my head. Imagem, then let's leave those sleepy heads in this room and continue somewhere else, she said while smiling brightly. I am awake. Me too. Ha ha. None was asleep as it seemed. I recover so fast nowadays, Ila said. Perks of being one of us, Joel said. Okay, Ila said and closed her eyes. Hey John. This wolf girl is so stern and bites a lot, Joel complained. I am not sure what to do with that too, John replied. Ila has a stern personality and barely smiles. She also has many secrets and keeps to herself. Other than her hunting gear and favorite dagger collection, Joel and Alina knew few about her. John heard a few stories about her childhood from her, but his feelings for her were, because of her personality nonetheless. He likes how she acts and loves her rough nature. Sure, the others would take some time to get used to her. You three act nice when I am not around or else. Yes? Okay. Imagem. It is almost dawn. I will go wash and head to the office. John went off and the girls went to their own affairs. Alina was normally free, so she would only go to the college to or help at the company. Joel took the Anuic glowing potion that she made from Nirnroot and stored it in the room, and Ila went to sharpen her new arrows and get ready for another hunt. It was the 15th of sun's dusk, November, and John had to conclude a lot of work today. The first thing he needed to do was to finalize the schedule of the new projects for the new year and prepare a worthy old life and new life festivals for Winterhold and Neo-Sarthal. He also reviews the last year activity reports of the 7 major departments of the Oidair Dragon Company, and they are the Dare Security, the Dare Arsenal, the Dare Pharmacy, the Dare Constructions, the Dare Trading, the Dare Fleet, and the Dare Essentials. He couldn't help but smile when he saw the huge growth of his company compared to last year and how it took thousands upon thousands of warriors, scribes, farmers, and miners. He was truly a king in the world of business, and even if the hypnosis spell was removed from Jarl Career, there is no getting rid of the Dare Dragon Company as long as John is breathing. And that brings him to the second issue he had to solve: Jarl Career. Up until now, Jarl Career was under John's complete control, and there was no way he would break unless someone knowledgeable about hypnosis came to erase the control. Still, that didn't mean Career was in a normal state. Sometimes, his inner consciousness would try to fight that control, and it comes in the form of lags and panic attacks like how it happened in front of the Imperial envoy once. John was sure that his enemies will try to use such a thing to expose him in front of the assembly, and he had to solve this one. At noon, he went to the Black Room, the new prison of Winterhold. Accompanying him was Julliner, Jarl Career, and some loyal guards from Team Zero. They arrived in a certain room that was prepared beforehand, and John, Jull, and Jarl Career entered. The room was completely empty except for one torture chair. Jarl Career, would you please sit on the chair here? Oh, gladly. Career answered the way he would always answer with, and sat on the chair like an idiot. Joel, strap him to the chair. Julliner nodded and did what John asked. She was in Winterhold from the beginning and knew how vicious and cruel Jarl Career was. She was happily strapping him to the chair, and Career cooperated easily. Thank you, John said, and Joel left the room. Now there was only John and Career alone. From the cube, John called a small enchanting table and took a few tools, then looked at Career and spoke. Program 1 deactivate. Program 2 deactivate. Program 3 deactivate. The hypnosis was broken from Jarl Career, and he froze. John simply took the helm of Winterhold off the head of Career and started erasing the enchantment on it. Jarl Career was still frozen in place, being hit by a long train of realizations. Rage, anger, humiliation, sadness, fear, anxiety, worry, wrath, dread, hopelessness, more anger, more of those emotions, 2 years or so worth of shock and disbelief. He looked at John, who was simply working on his next evil scheme, and his face twisted. He had a lot in mind, but all these emotions ended up in a pained cry. A man weeping. John paused for a little before returning to his work again. You. I will destroy you. Jarl Career's face was red with all those suppressed emotions. John didn't reply. What you did. I am Jarl. I am the damn Jarl. How dare yo? Slap. Noisy. Career's face turned swollen from the slap. John's hand was not something any man can get slapped with and remain intact afterward. Career was still looking with hate towards John. Why? Why would you do that to me? Career was infuriated. Oh, well, I guess for one to rise, one must fall. The gods won't let that slide. You, evil mage. The gods won't let you OFF. John laughed and shook his head. And why would those guys feel wronged for you? Who do you think you are, mere mortal? Those so-called gods of yours, the 9, the 8, the Daedra, and all those spirits. You think they care about you for just being hypnotized for 2 years? They saw you do more than that for much longer than that, and they were pretty much cool with it. You are a monster, manipulated me, humiliated me. You are a monster. Career's tone was heavy. Ha! Acting righteously now? John mocked and shook his head. The likes of you disgust me, Jarl Career. What you got is far less than what you deserve. I ended your former masters, the Bloodsails and the Bloodhorkers. I removed all kinds of influence the Jarl of Winterhold had, and put them all in my hand. Hell, you don't even have a single loyal guard. They all work for me now. I pay them after all. Just wait. You can't kill me, you can't keep me here either. Once I get out, I know how to get everything back. You think so? We'll see. We will see, John Dare. Stop acting like a third-rate villain, and shut up then. Villain? You think I am a villain? You are the villains. All you mages are villains. You bastards. John stopped what he was doing, and looked to Career, then took out a chair, and sat facing him. Mages? Was it all about mages and how you hate them? Yes. It was always about mages. It was always you evil low scum. You filthy bastards. You bring crisis, plagues, evil. You even wanted to bring oblivion itself and doom the world. And the collapse. That was the last stroke. The world will know. Career kept going on and on about his hate to mages until John got bored. I have your wife and child, John said. Career paused and his face turned pale. He didn't speak. Don't worry, your kid joined a school where they teach useful knowledge as well as a small course of magic. As for your wife, she has made a very profiting business for herself. They couldn't be better under your rule, and now they are better under mine. They are safe and happy. That wife of yours that was just as an anti-magic fanatic as you is now happy knowing that her son is learning magic at the school with other kids. She knows that he will grow to be a smart man with a bright future. John smiled and opened his hand wide. I made that happen to him and to many others. Career body was twitching, learning that his son is using magic now. Just how far did things go out of the way? Change happened, Jarl Career. Change is inevitable, change is sacred, change is nature. You stepped on those good people of Winterhold thinking that this way, you can amass enough force to drive away the college. Did you know that the one who built the college was one of the greatest mages of all time? He was a Nord and his name is Shalidar. He built the college, and the town came to be later to become the capital of Skyrim. What a history! John stood up and strode across the room. Such a beautiful world has an oppressor like you who hates magic. I'd say that those who discriminate against magic are idiotic monkeys, people who should revert to the Stone Age and live like animals. Magic, it means freedom, power, and ability. Oppressors like you must hate a power that is free for everyone and can tilt the scale of power with a single spell. Why? Because you are sick control freak. Let me tell you a story about a world that has no magic or any special way for its inhabitants to make a difference. There are advanced science, power of finances, knowledge, voice of the populace, and all that jazz. Still, there were limitations due to money, and the people were always oppressed by governments controlled by the likes of you. That Winterhold, a town that was destroyed 80 years ago. 80 years for fuck's sake. In a world of magic. 80 years of complete sitting still. How the fuck was that even possible? What did you and your predecessors do apart from nothing useful? In that magicless world, a country called Japan was really strong and domineering. Its people were vicious and scary. These people participated in a bloody conflict called a World War II, and they carved a bloody scar on one of the world's superpowers back then. The only way to put them down was to smite them with an atomic bomb. Do you know what an atomic bomb is? It will make the Great Collapse and the eruption of the Red Mountain look like complete silly jokes. The Oblivion Crisis was even manageable, but that was a piece of doomsday itself. After that war, Japan was surely domesticated by the victorious Allies and got brainwashed generation after the other to convince them of being peaceful and non-violent. Well, I am losing to the tale. The point is here, after they got bombed, they needed much less than 80 years to get back on their feet and become a leading country in the world once again. They made a strong economy and a solid base to support their country for generations. On the other hand, there were countries like Egypt, one that didn't participate in the war whatsoever. They suffered some minor losses and lost a few soldiers, but in the end, they never did shit. What they did was to overthrow the Egyptian king and make a republic that made matters even worse, and the economy remained shit. The military power was also shit. Do you know why, Jarl Career? Because the ones who governed Egypt were all like you, no real democracy, no real economy. The reason was simple, there was just another country that was acting like the blood sales and made the weak countries its little farms, mines and barns. That's how the world works. Fancy people in fancy places deciding the lives of the small folk, whether they are their populace or just another country they use. Those fancy people would hate for the small people to acquire what they can defy them with, and that was simply power. Call it knowledge, science, hacking, or even magic, to people like you, it is your poison. Seeing the small folk controlling their own fate just makes you scared and causes you to feel weak and not in control. This is why you hate magic, Jarl Career. You just can't accept it around any Jarl other than you. That idiot Skald the Elder of Dawnstar has his court wizard but you. If you were to know the power you could just possess by magic, things would have turned the other way around for this hold. You may not be the same monster as much as those ones I was talking about, but I think you are a pitiful disqualified man as person, as a ruler and as everything really. I am going to fix that. John finished his long speech to the silent Career that was just looking at him with bloodshot broken eyes. Oh, look how much time we have wasted. You are really a good listener, Jarl Career. I give you that. Now to the matter at hand. John started to organize his work and finished what he was doing. What will you do to me? What magic will you curse me with this time? Career spoke in a weak, defeated tone. Curse? Sadly no. I am doing you a favor this time. Something that you don't deserve. John said as he reviewed his note on the enchantment he just made on a regular circlet. He took the circlet and put it on Career's head properly as the latter tried to resist. I am making you into a proper Jarl. No more tricks or hypnosis. This is the real thing. The enchantment on this thing will make your mind and will vulnerable, not that you will feel it, but it will make you tell the truth when spoken to and stuff like that. Pretty simple. But the fun part is not here yet. The use of this is to weaken your mind momentarily, and then we will get rid of it. What I need it for now is to use it to change you, in other words, to bend your will. What John said made Career's eyes widen. He understood what he was doing right away. It is going to change him, cleanse him and redo him forever. The Career that entered this room was a man, and the one after this process will be another man. How could he not understand when he is strapped to a chair, and was about to have such a thing done to him? That's, how can the gods allow such magic to exist? It's forbidden. Stop. I beg you, please, stop. I have a kid, please. Easy, relax. It is not that bad. John smiled brightly. You will be you, just a better you. Someone who is happy that Winterhold is doing better. A new start for you, Career. You will be a different person. You won't be judged for your sins. Hell, people have already forgotten about you, and we will present them a new career. Now I can give you back your work that I was doing for 2 years. You finally can become a better person. Isn't this the dream, Career? To the warm, genuine smile on John's face, Career wished to die where he sits. He is just going to get erased and rewritten. Even the evilest among people would know that this is no different than execution, but John had it in a better way. The only reason he had to use this method was that he can't fully use the full version of it. What that means is that the Thursday he is going to use is not fully learned by him, and he only knows 1 word of the 3, so he needs to use other external helping factors. And now, the shout he was going to use was on the tip of his tongue. A mighty and powerful shout that was used to enslave mighty beasts. He only learned 1 word after a great effort, and the effect he wanted needed 2 words, thus the enchanted circlet became necessary. This shout was, Bend Will. Jio Hadav. Earth, Mind, Dragon. Note that the dragon words not written in capital are not shouted. John could only shout Jioel without Ha or Dav. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal. Me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon. com/Eldokmizi. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 317 Jade Skin. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. How terrifying it is to change a man's heart. The answer is very terrifying. Then how terrifying it is to not only change his heart but also his mind, personality and very core. Erasing him and putting something different in its stead? Making him a completely different person while that ended result is fully aware and conscious about it. This is also very terrifying. But what is more terrifying is that man thanking you for transforming his life to something better while you are aware of the cruel process you just put him through. It is like reprogramming a person's mind completely, no room for going back or reverting to old habits, changing his heart way beyond anything achievable. It made me shiver in fear. I know I was acting high and mighty, but seeing something, feeling it and understanding what it is are completely different stories from just planning for it and getting ready mentally. I just created a new human in the place of another human, and it became very grateful to me. I removed all the hatred towards magic and changed it into admiration and wonder, all the evil into a goodwill, all the hate into guilt and all treachery into loyalty. The man that walked in was not the man that walked out. This was a power mortals shouldn't possess and I shouldn't abuse, yet it will become a full ability I can use freely one day. How terrifying! It took me quite a while to put my head in peace with it and erase all the evidence of my actions. Now Jarl Career is a new man who will serve Winterhold as a proper Jarl, and I will keep my eye on him for the coming few days. Why are you so worried? A voice asked me. I looked back to Alina and sighed. Nothing. Just worries of work. You are normally not worried of anything. Normally. I am just scared of what might I become. You? John Dare? Heh. It is just, things used to be simple. I am good, evildoers are bad, there are lines one shouldn't cross, I knew I would cross them someday, but it is just that they are really scary. Once you cross these lines, realize what you are capable of and see the outcome of your actions, it all feels unsettling. Alina raised her brows and looked around. She checked that there is no one around us in my office and removed her firekeeper mask. I see that you are troubled, darling. Come here. She pulled my head and took me in a hug. You are not a bad person. Maybe a little villain, but you are not evil. Yeah. Her logic was a bit confusing. She let me go and looked at me. You are literally the guy who came from another world and will slay dragons in the future. I mean, you shouldn't be scared, just that you got more powerful. Hey, don't use my excuses against me. Hee hee. She laughed sweetly and looked at me again. Both you and I know that there are not just excuses. You said it yourself, the first requirement in cultivating the essence energy is to have a strong heart. You are John Dare, how can you be scared? I felt like her words hit the spot and I smiled wryly. There were many things in this world that I am ready for, or I thought I was until I experienced it. The feeling was strange. And it kept getting stranger for some reason. Yeah, John. I was not sure what this feeling is, but Winterhold was rather bright today. John. Oh, sorry. Yes. You are getting red? Alina said something strange. Excuse me. You are becoming red? Like, look at your skin for kind's sake. I looked at my palm and, why am I red? Alina touched me, but she retreated her hand right away. Hot. Thanks. No. You are hot. Clearly. I mean your temperature. Aha. I am hot indeed. I stood up from my chair and opened the window for some fresh cold air to come in, but I didn't get any cooler. Alina, I think my magicka is causing this. It is not moving properly and I can't use it right. I am about to break through the iron bone stage. I understood what was happening in an instant. As Alina said, meditation is about the heart. Once my heart calmed down, I was in a proper condition for a breakthrough and my magicka started acting up on its own. What should we do? She asked in worry. Teleport me somewhere with a lot of snow. Yes. She held my hand and cast a spell. The view around me changed, and I could tell that we are in the snowfield southeast to Winterhold. I sat down right away and started to meditate in the snow. I could feel Alina sensing my temperature every now and then while piling ice around me. Her actions seemed organized and calculated to not disturb my meditation. The feeling of a breakthrough was getting nearer and nearer, but still taking forever. This was all because of the excessively strong blessing that dear Uncle Sheoth bestowed on me. Blessing of the Mad Champion was basically similar to the Redguard racial power, Adrenaline Rush, and the Argonian racial power, His Skin. Just similar to the blessing of the Allmaker, Root of Power. That is similar to the Altmare racial power, Highborn. I estimated that a major breakthrough was near after I got that blessing, and it is happening right now. Not sure how much time passed, my temperature was really rising and I felt that the dragon frame realm characteristic of refining the body was functioning to its best. The target of refining this time was my skin and muscles. The snow around me started melting and getting piled by Alina until I felt I was there. The heat on my skin started to become unbearable and my clothes started to burn, but finally, it all came down. I was about to wrap it up and open my eyes, but I felt that there were still more energies trapped in my core that could be converted to essence energy, and I kept going further. My body heated once again, but it was not like major breakthrough, and the heat died down quickly. After some time it happened one more time, and the heat died down once again. I have advanced 3 levels in the new stage. It was then when my rapid growth in strength died down, and my meditation returned to its normal speed. Wow! I opened my eyes and felt very amazing. In front of me was a fairy in a red dress meditating in the middle of the snow while floating in the air. Show off! Alina always liked to meditate while floating. She says that being touched by anything hinders her consecration. I was about to stand up and check my body, but I saw Jade not far from us also sitting in meditation, with an orb golden energy being formed between her hands. Another show-off. Jade prefers to concentrate the essence energy outside her body before absorbing it. Her movements are neat and artistic in my opinion. Each one of us has his own method of walking the way, and can be said that our unique method of special meditation is our signature, and no one in the world understands it better than us. Normal mages also meditate to increase their magicka, but it is no way near effective like our method. Maybe the mysterious masters in the Sijic order can be the only ones that can surprise me with a unique meditation technique that has something to do with the spiritual essence energy, but I highly doubt it. If they have a method of walking the way, like I do, Mannimarco wouldn't have chosen to become a necromancer for the sake of immortality. You are up? A voice called for me. Yes, Alina. You too, it seems. Any good news? I said. Yes, a breakthrough. I am now at level 6, Iron Bone stage. She said while smiling. Good job. Congratulations. You too, what is your level by now? Level 3 in the new stage, didn't name it yet. Hee, what are the characteristics? See for yourself? I said and undid my shirt, showing her my skin and muscles. Alina put her hands on me and felt my body carefully. Her brows twitched and she started to touch me in every place. Tisk. She then clicked her tongue. Oi, what's with that? John, no, you are good, you are way too good. You managed to make me of all people feel envious. What do you mean? Look at your skin. She said and glared at me as if she will tear a hole through me. It became stronger and smoother, even your feature became more handsome than before. That skin is making me sick with jealousy. It indeed was the case, but was it that good? I don't feel any difference. She took out a small dagger and tried to cut my palm, but the dagger did nothing. Your skin is smooth and hard as jade. How can you think girls won't be jealous? Humph, she said. Fine. Be train as hard as you can to reach my level. At least you know what to expect now, I said and patted her head. Yeah, just called it the Jade Skin stage, and be done with it. Yes, my lady. I will do as you wish. Still, I think her skin is way smoother than mine. I mean, she is Alina after all. So how long passed since I started training? 3 days. Good, this rapid progress I had lately requires a lot of stabilization. And what did I miss during the past days? Jade said that the small tournament in the casino is over. The teams heading to the High Kings tournament are decided. The junior tokens that we had this year are 5, 1 for our company, 1 for the college, 3 for local teams. As for the senior tokens, then we got only 2, 1 is decided for a local team and the other one is with us. I decided to give it to our best warriors in the Dare security, if they are interested. Good call. How is Jarl career? He is doing fine. He is really, as you said, a new man. He started to work on the paper you readied for him, and a new guard captain was appointed from our ranks. The recruitment for guards was issued, and the Idare security will hand over the places that aren't part of our company. Some people were a bit hostile towards the Jarl, but the air around him and his attitude are starting to gain him some popularity among the new locals. Good, this is really good news. I can now cut my workload by half, but still, I will keep him monitored by Team Zero. I may have changed his heart but not his soul. Jelinek said she that too. She has already put people around him from Team Zero as a security detail. They will keep you updated. Having 1/9 of Skyrim at our pocket, I said mocking. And doing a goddamn good job keeping it running, Alina assured me. Thanks, I said, and remembered something important. Hey, Jarl Career and I discussed something once I was done with him and reached an agreement. We prepared something for you. For me. Yes, let's go see him. I walked Alina to the Jarl's longhouse. This thing I had in mind was the last piece in making sure my kingdom remain intact. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 318 A Night at the Sea. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. The level of his sight was not stable. It felt like he was not walking properly, but it didn't stop him from going after his enemy. He was limping in pain due to his left leg, which made him fall a bit late. Desperation filled his soul as his enemy was going to escape once again, but he didn't let go. He looked at his left leg, which was covered by a dark matter shaped like the leg itself, but it was little lifeless. He knew it wouldn't help him if he didn't use magic, yet he was not able to. The curse was still stronger than him. Curses came out of his mouth as he took out a mace that carried all the dread in the world with it. He looked around himself and found a dying man. A cruel smile formed on his face, and he smashed the man's skull with the mace, devouring the man's very essence. Now he can use magic again. He stretched out his left hand, that was also supported by the dark matter like his leg, and shot out magic. It was no normal magic, it was blue flames, cold flames of essence draining that would obliterate any foe stood between him and his enemy. Those who dared to do so were incinerated into snow ash, something that only existed in the tales of the Daedric Titans. With it, he cut through the hordes of foes and claimed their essence to enforce his power. Finally, he was there in front of his enemy, the one that made him suffer like nothing else in the world. I won't kill you. I will kill them and make you watch, then I will kill you with them. The words that came from his mouth were of absolute hatred. He regards no sacred or holy no more. He wants revenge. Please. I didn't. His enemy's wails were nothing to his ears. He only turned around and called. Come. A figure clad in black robe and hood came while pulling a man in rags by a rope to his neck. He took the rope from man and threw the man in rags beside his enemy. With another spell, blue flaming beings appeared from the void and obliterated everyone around him while making his two prisoners watch. He then opened his hand towards the man in black, and the latter gave him a dagger. With frenzied movements, the dagger descended on the two men on the ground, turning them into shreds of flesh, and made them scream with absolute agony. It was a scene from hell. A cold frozen blue hell then turned all the enemies into shreds and fine powder of snow, and with their agony and screams lingering in echoes. The revenge was exacted and the deed was done. The blue flames died down and nothing was left except for him and the man in black robes. You have done well, the Lord is pleased. The man in black spoke. But he is not done with you yet. You are to serve another purpose very soon. He was shocked to hear those words and looked at the man in black behind him only to find him gone. In this place filled with nothing but snow ash, an aura of light appeared in front of him, and it was very familiar. It can't be. He couldn't believe it and he knelt down crying. All his rage and sadness were for nothing. He was just another fool in the end. Just as he tried to walk to the light and embrace it, the space around him turned cold and murderous. He looked up only to see the blue sky turning red like blood and an ugly being coming of a black hole. It stretched its wings and flew in the sky while looking down at him with its cruel face. The being aimed out its right arm and strong suction force manifested. He was pulled from the ground by his neck to the hand of that being. "You are coming with me." "No. Oh." John woke up in the middle of the night with energy bursting from his body. He was glaring at the darkness of the cabin with his aura exploding from his body. He looked around to realize that nothing was around him other than the girl that looked at him with worry. "You are okay, John?" Joliner asked him while touching his body. His temperature was high and his energy was in a mess, which is quite the opposite of his norm. "I am okay. Okay, just a nightmare." While his body was drenched in sweat, his mouth and throat were dry. He was breathing heavily and couldn't seem to be calm. "I'm off for some air." John walked out of the bed, and he wasn't really in a good mood after waking up like that. He took his robe and walked out of the cabin to the deck of the ship. He was on one of the Dragon Fleet ships heading to Solitude. The ship sailed through the Sea of Ghosts, and sailors could barely see anything in the mists of night. Some of the men greeted John as boss when he walked across them, and he only nodded back. He was still annoyed. Once he reached the rear deck of the ship, he rested his arms on the railing and kept looking at the water. He was waking up lately with nightmares, but tonight was the worst. What made him more annoyed was how he could remember nothing of those nightmares after he wakes up. He gave out a long sigh and took a deep breath before using telekinesis to pull up some sea water and splash his face with it. Now that he is wide awake, he should do something useful or meditate. Still troubled, Jul called for him. He looked back and saw her walking out in a robe, and covering herself was a bedsheet. "No, I am good," he said and gestured for her to come closer. She walked beside him and was taken in his embrace. "Wanna talk about it?" "I don't remember it to talk about it." "Then don't worry about it. I can sing for you if you want," she said and came closer to him. "Another song about people you killed." "What? No, I stopped writing those long time ago. It is a song about you. I called it My Light." Joliner seemed a bit offended. John smiled and kissed her cheek. "You are my light too. Racist. You realize that you are saying that to a dark elf." John laughed and looked at her mismatched colored eyes and pulled her closer, not wanting to let go. "Those who see us right now won't recognize us from 2 years ago. You literally were beating me to keep me in check." She remembered the early days of her and John. "Well, someone had to beat it out of you." "Oh, thank you then. Turns out you were just another psycho that day." The two laughed as they remembered the old days. "Wolfer left for Orsinium, right?" she asked. "Yes. 2 days before us. Didn't we see him off?" "I wasn't there. I was running an errand for Master Neurelian." "I like the old man," John said. "At least he saw us off when Alina didn't." "Right, she was glaring at me all day before we leave," Joliner said. "Why? You took me with you and not her, the First Lady of House Dare. She had to stay and deal with things. She knows the company as good as I do, and no one can oppose her word in Winterhold. She is the only daughter of the patriarch of the most powerful clan in the Hold and the future wife of the richest man in the Hold. She is basically the Queen of Winterhold. What Alina cares about is being the queen of you. Winterhold just came along with the package," Jul said. John couldn't help but laugh. "You don't believe me? That girl gets really jealous, you know. She accepted me only as your second wife and barely accepted Ela to stop you from going to the bathhouse. She would have killed Alishka if she wasn't someone important in the company," Joliner said with full seriousness. John only smiled and nodded. "Women are scary creatures, John. Put the world at a side of the scale and the men we care about at the other, and you would see the world burn every time." "I know. In your case things tend to be a little complicated, but we know that it is hard to contain you with just the two of us. Now we are 3, just don't go as far as 4, okay? Alina and I may actually lose it and start thinning the number. John sighed and didn't reply. He wasn't sure how to answer that anyway. On one hand, he wasn't sure of his active sex drive, and on the other, he wasn't sure if there is another girl powerful enough to withstand him outside his circle. Maybe a female giant will work as the 4th. You know that thing about giant's milk, right? People get to call you Giant Spain if you drink it, John said. I am not asking how you know that, and I clearly don't want to know more details about it. The two kept talking from subject to subject and from joke to the other. Right, speaking of giants, wasn't Lady Scotty dealing with the giant problem we are having lately? Joel asked. Yes, that idiot Scald the Elder drove off the giants from around Dawnstar right to Winterhold just because he doesn't like me. He even ignored every fact that he is endangering the road of the Talos worshipper refugees and breaking Empire law of overhunting endangered species. John became infuriated. I doubt he even gets what the terms mean. But look at the bright side, we now have giants in Winterhold, and mammoths, you love those. Yes, but there is a dark side and the bright side, we don't know where to put them. There is no food west to a Neo-Sarthal, and except at the beach if the giants decided to hunt the Horkers. If the Horkers are gone then the fishes are going to increase. If fishes increase then another sea monsters from the depth of the Sea of Ghosts are going to show up around our beaches. The ecosystem is getting fucked up. Man, I am not an expert in this, but do you bunch of rulers have to worry about the wolves and fishes in your holds too? I am not sure about others, but I do. I am sure Lady Scotty and Alina will manage. Let's hope so. Ring 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 ring. Sea monsters. Sea monsters. Some of the sailors on the lookout started shouting. See? John looked at Julliner as his bad feeling about the ecosystem was on mark. The two of them ran towards the direction of the caller and saw something crawling in water. By the 9, is that a sea ghost? One sailor shouted. Nah, you idiot. It's a sea serpent. Ready your spears. Oi, it's boss. A veteran sailor replied and recognized John. I'll take care of it. John jumped off the ship and landed on the surface of the water. He was using the water-walking spell and walked on the sea leisurely. Just a few meters away from him, a large sea snake was crawling on water. Its sheer size made the sailors on the ship shiver in fear. The ship was called the Hasty Bee, a new cruiser ship made to be very fast and move on 3 engines. It was still a battleship, but was the least equipped in the cruiser grade. John gazed at the sea serpent and saw its mighty body. The thing's head was at least as big as a dragon's head that he remembered from the game, but its aura wasn't even anything compared to Parthurnac. Size wasn't everything after all. This serpent wasn't even as strong as an elder mammoth. Still, its length exceeded 30 meters. John cracked his fingers and smiled. If I don't remember masturbating in the sea, how did a fucker like you come to be? John's sexy imagination, not dirty mind, seemed to have successfully taunted the sea serpent, and it fixed its direction towards John. With a few twists of its body, its swim speed increased by many folds, and it bounced over at John, opening its mouth wide, wanting to swallow him in one go. John's aura was focused on his body and eyes. He saw the scene in slow motion as the serpent opened its jaw and twisted its head while bouncing forward. A mocking smile appeared on John, and a feeling of superiority filled his heart. He was angered that a weakling like that snake dared to act haughty in front of him. Weakling? Why do I think of a being I met for the first time as a weakling? John was confused of the strange logic that popped in his head, but he leisurely swung his fist, reinforced by his tyrant aura, and carrying his iconic Thunder Cookie spell. The hit landed on the side of the top jaw of the serpent, and an unbelievable scene unfolded. The serpent was tossed away like a toy with its large body and magnificent appearance. John looked at his fist and realized that he hasn't fought in a long time, not even when El Diablo was captured. He mostly left it for Isha because it was her labor. He also only used magic in his visit to the Shivering Isles. Basically, since he was at level 3 Iron Bone stage, Dragon Frame Realm. Damn. Is this a bad thing or a good thing? John looked behind him and saw Julliner on the ship with his eyes open wide along with other sailors. You want some sushi for a late-night snack, honey? Julliner smiled wryly and nodded. Yes, darling. Just don't mash the meat too hard. Yep, on it. The human/dark elf couple were the only ones insane enough to make heads and tail in this situation. This was the last bit of fun they had before they arrive at Solitude in the next day. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Chapter 319 The Assembly 1. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. The Blue Palace, Solitude, a 21st of Sun's Dusk, December, 4E197-12:00 p.m. Jarl Career, Thane John, welcome to the Blue Palace. Thank you, Mr. Fuck. You arrived just in time, please, this way. The man who received the diplomats of Winterhold was none other than Falk Firebeard, the steward of High King Torrig of Skyrim. Jarl Career, followed by John, were led together through the halls of the Blue Palace, and John was looking around. The palace was underwhelming. He thought it would be something classy from inside, but Nords are Nords, royalties or not. No wonder the High Elves always mock the Nordic architecture. What was the least disappointing was the size of the palace. At least it wasn't as the sorry excuse of a palace in the game, so just like many things, it was much larger in reality. At the end of the long walk, the group reached the throne room. As underwhelming as the palace, the throne room was very similar to that of the game, but just in a bigger size and more furniture. Jarl Career. Jarl Idgord. Jarl Idgord Ravencrone of Morthal called for Jarl Career, and seemed to be anticipating to fry him in some verbal combat. John simply didn't bother with them, and greeted Jarl Idgord, then excused himself deeper in the throne room. There were a lot of people here. Other than Jarl Idgord and Jarl Career, there was also Jarl Igmund of Markarth, Jarl Balgruuf of Whiterun, and a surprising face, Jarl Sigir of Falkreath. Falkreath had what you can call a coup d'état. Someone whispered to John behind his ears. John looked around and smiled instantly. Thane Bryling, it is nice to finally meet in person. Thane John, you are just as what I heard, the red-haired large gentleman. Perks of the bloodline. Indeed, even for a far relative to the firemans like yourself, you took all the good parts. Lucky me. Indeed. I was wondering. Thane Bryling and John got engaged in a conversation about the state of Skyrim and the holds. Falkreath was a hot topic as it had a recent change from the Stormcloak camp to the Imperial camp when its Jarl was changed. Bryling was well aware of the events regarding that, and John got to admit that Bryling was very organized and could see points that no one normally sees, while Bryling was taken aback by John's radical, out-of-the-box ways to solve things. Time passed and finally, the main actor appeared. High King Torrig is here. Bryling pointed while speaking to John, and the two quietened down and returned to their respective areas. Good day. Torrig made a simple dandy greeting, and the people nodded to him in a respectful manner. Unlike most races on Tamriel, Nords don't kneel to kings or emperors but only to gods. It is a custom and tradition. Kneeling is submission. Everyone sat quietly in their places after Torrig, who sat on his throne. The atmosphere was still chilly between the people around, and opposites started to appear. There was the imperial envoy, who had the right to attend the assembly of the Jarl as a proxy for the emperor. He was a man called Count Pavoatius. The titles of Cyrodiil granted by the Empire are valid in any part of the Empire, but the titles of Skyrim, like Jarl, which is equal to Count, and Thane, which is equal to Viscount, were not valid outside Skyrim. Jarl is Earl in the Scandinavian languages. Earl is equivalent to Count. As High King Torygg was sitting in the middle, on his right there was Count Pavo, Thane Erikr, Jarl Igmund and Jarl Siggeir, while on the right, there were Thane Breiling, Jarl Idgord, Jarl Balgruuf and Jarl Career. Besides, everyone was his close aides and thanes, and thus John was sitting at the corner. Even though he was chilling the furthest, many eyes have landed on him more than a few times. Thane Erikr was acting cool, but he would glare from time to time to only meet John's easygoing smile. Thongvar Silverblood, who accompanied Jarl Igmund of Markarth, was also looking at John with interest, and John also nodded at him, knowing that he is a Stormcloak supporter. Count Pavo seemed to be displeased, not only from John but from other many things. The most interesting one in this meeting was Vittoria Vici, one of John's many lovers, and Viarmo, the head of the Bard's College, a person John wanted to have a conversation with. High King Torygg ignored the glare contests that were going everywhere in the room, and kicked off the assembly. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I know this is too early to hold an assembly before the big tourney, but we have some matters we need to address. Who would go first?" "Allow me, High King." The imperial envoy stood up. "Count Pavo." Torygg nodded. Count Pavo was one brute of a man. He seemed to have served in the Imperial Legion. For him to have the body of a warrior, and his eyes were sharp. His large mustache and medium black hair also gave him the air of diplomat. Honored High King and Jarls of Skyrim, as we are all aware, the Empire is facing many difficulties as of late. We have the Aldmeri Dominion to worry about, but that is not all, the Argonians of Black March, the Caitiate of Elsweyr, and as you know, the Redguards of Hammerfell. These particular provinces have long been left the unity of the Empire for many reasons. The Caitiate are with the Aldmeri Dominion, the Argonians re-established the Unzeilil government, which has many connections to the Aldmeri Dominion. It is hard to say whether or not the Bretons of High Rock are loyal to the Empire or not, but we are safe to say that both the Bretons and the Redguards share a grim history with the Dominion. That leaves Morrowind and Skyrim. Morrowind is an enemy of an ally to the Dominion, but Morrowind is not that friendly to the Empire. And finally, Skyrim, as most of you are already aware, it is getting divided. The room didn't get as noisy as the Imperial envoy expected, and surprisingly, the Nords were quiet. 23 years ago, the Great War ended by the White Gold Concordant, a treaty that put an end to the grim fights, and most of us were there. The treaty indeed put some harsh terms on the Empire, but its main purpose was to cause discord. Right now Hammerfell is no part of the Empire because of the term that forces the Empire to hand half of Hammerfell to the Aldmeri Dominion, and Skyrim is angry because of the ban of Talos worship. It is all causing us troubles, especially the other terms that put many restrictions on the Empire in economy and trading. The Imperial envoy was trying his best to get to the Nords around him. Skyrim is more than just a valuable ally to the Empire, it is the only access for the Imperial Legion to and from High Rock now that Hammerfell is out of the picture. If by any chance Skyrim is not a part of the Empire, then High Rock is not. The Empire will be all alone against Alienor, Somerset Isles, Valenwood and Elsweyr. Count Pavo made a grim face. The Empire is strong, and our war machine is way beyond the imagination and the estimation of any force on Tamriel. The Aldmeri Dominion may think that it had the upper hand in the Great War, but they are still wounded and weakened. High Elves and Wood Elves are not as reproductive as humans, and they lost many numbers, while we during the span of those 23 years have re-established the Imperial Legion far better and much fiercer than that of the Great War. Skyrim also didn't suffer that much, and it kept a large portion of its power that grew in the span of the 23 years. The Aldmeri Dominion knew that would happen, and the sole reason for the Concordant was to cause these massive human forces to collide with each other. The Imperial Envoy talked systematically and got engrossed in his topic. Right now, in this assembly of the Jarls of Skyrim, 3 particular names are missing: Jarl Skald the Elder, Jarl Layla Lawgiver, and Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak. I say, the Aldmeri Dominion has indeed managed to cause discord by a few terms on a paper. The Empire wishes that the Jarls, Thanes, heads of the clans and the war chiefs of Skyrim to stand by its side like they always did since the days of the First Empire of Saint Alessia, the Second Empire of Reman Cyrodiil, and the Third Empire of Tiber Septim. Let the Fourth Empire of Titus Mede lead the forces of humanity like its predecessors always did and enforce the supremacy of mankind for our sakes and the sakes of the generations yet to come. Thank you. The Imperial Envoy Count Pavo Arius finished his talk, and the people were still quiet. He surely felt something was wrong for the Jarls to keep quiet all that time, but he remained as expressionless and aloof as he entered. Outside the circle of the gathering, the Imperial Legion officers that attended the meeting and the other envoys that John was familiar with were all carrying expressions of pride for the words of Count Pavo. Only the Jarls and the Thanes were still solemn. Thanks, Count Pavo. Who else wants to voice their opinion? Jarl Idgord, you are the one who called early for this meeting. Do you want to say anything? High King Torrig asked. Yes, Jarl Idgord said as she put a hand on her cane and stood up. A few days ago I saw a dream of flames coming at Mordhal. I've seen that dream many times, I tell you, and I can't unsee it anymore. The flames come from the east, the south, and the west. They eat the land, everything green. Now that means something, she said and clicked with her cane on the ground. Most of the Jarls covered their faces with their palms thinking, did she call us here to tell us about her dreams again? John was amused by Jarl Idgord and decided to listen to the end. Now that all of you know, Ulfric has been sending his people over here and there, and that Bratskald is the worst. He doesn't want to stop sending people and zealots to make sermons about Talos and the Empire all around my hold. He thinks he can force my hand by changing the people hearts? Humph, ignorant buffoons. They speak of Ulfric as if he is the second coming of Talos or something. Now let me tell you this. Who caused all this mess to begin with, huh? It was Ulfric. He is the main reason why those elves are coming and going as they wish. Jarl Igmund, we just spoke of that. When the Reachmen took over Markarth, it was Ulfric who acted up on his own and came all the way from Eastmarch to the Reach and took Markarth from the Reachmen. Not only that, he also took Markarth for himself and sealed it off, telling the Empire that he won't hand it over unless they return the worship of Talos. Before that, even with the white gold Concordat, we were worshipping Talos very openly, and we didn't even bother with the Empire or the Thalmor and all that. It started with Ulfric and his obsessions. Now the fire will come to us all if we do not deal with it early. What do you suggest, Jarl Idgord? High King Torrig asked. Stop this before it starts. Tell Ulfric to come and talk to us, she said. Absurd. Erikr seemed bothered by the suggestion. He won't do so, he already started hoarding his troops and gathering allies. Count Pavo said. No blood was shed so far. We are still at the point of the return. Jarl Idgord pleaded. My king. Thane Breiling stood in support for Jarl Idgord. From the looks of it, Winterhold and Whiterun were also in favor of with the suggestion. John and Jarl Balgruuf were also looking at the High King the same way Breiling was. Igmund, what is your opinion? High King Torrig turned to his friend Jarl Igmund of Markarth. Jarl Ulfric has a temper that is hard to contain. You all know what happened when the Reachmen attacked Markarth. At that time, Jarl Ulfric came to our rescue when I was just a young boy. He avenged my father and rescued my throne, but he had another plan in mind all along. Jarl Ulfric will do anything to achieve his purpose, and that includes many complicated things hidden beneath his words of Skyrim for the Nords and return of Talos worship. He thinks he fights for a higher purpose and to keep all that the Nords achieved so far. He was disappointed by the Empire many times and he gathered many Nords around him. Things will be difficult if you want to talk to him. I say, give it a try but don't expect it to work. Torg nodded and then looked at the newly appointed Jarl Siggeir. The latter stood and spoke. I say there is no point. Ulfric is one man with some brigands around him. He won't do much harm. Sit back, fool. Jarl Idgord lashed at him right away. Jarl Siggeir was taken aback by the sudden glare that went through him. Not only that, Jarl Balgruuf was clearly looking down at him. Jarl Career wasn't paying attention to him, and John was simply having a mocking smile hidden behind the hand that his chin was resting on. Jarl Siggeir was not an experienced politician by any means. He was appointed in the place of his uncle, who was a supporter of Ulfric Stormcloak for the sake of making Falkreath under the control of the Empire. Falkreath may seem like a hold with a lot of forests and ruins, but its strategic value is invaluable as it was connected to both the Empire and Hammerfell, where both the Imperial Legion and the Redguard mercenaries should come from. Jarl Idgord didn't like how Siggeir underestimated Ulfric. He was way too young and too inexperienced to say such a thing about the Bear of Markarth. But there was someone much younger than him in this meeting. It was John Dare. Jarl Idgord stood up once again. Listen, you lot. That noisy Skald of Dawnstar is not going to stop harassing my hold any time soon. The Pale and Jalmarch are not the friendliest holds and Skald is making things worse, asked Winterhold. All eyes landed on Jarl Career and John. Winterhold was a very hot topic, and everyone wanted to taste how salty can the blood of John Dare is. Jarl Career, what exactly does Jarl Skald do, and what do you suggest to deal with it? Torg asked. Jarl Career stood up and looked around carefully. He was wearing an expensive suit with a fur cloak and armored garment like the style of Winterhold, and on his head there was a light decorated open helm, their helm of Winterhold. Winterhold has kept friendly relationships with all holds and jarls. Jarl Skald is indeed motivated to the cause of Talos worship and all that. He may have some disagreements regarding the methods of Winterhold, which in fact avoids all sorts of making problems with either the cult of Talos, the Imperial cult or the Old Nordic cult. Thanks to Thane John's dedicated work, we do not have problems whatsoever. But Jarl Skald has started to make harassments on the borders of the hold. We indeed need to address that, and Thane John, as well as the esteemed mages of the college, were all working on it for quite a while now. Most of the people present were listening to Jarl Career, and tried to listen again and again. His tone was different. He was the man they know in every aspect, but he was more cheerful. Jarl Career even said esteemed mages. The word mages followed the word esteemed, and both were said by a man called Career, who serves as the Jarl of a hold called Winterhold. Not sure if they were short on brain circuits, but that was the very detention of odd. Some hidden smiles formed on some faces, many were waiting for that moment. Good. High King Torg nodded. Thane John Dare, it is nice to see you in person one more time. Thank you, my king. John stood up and spoke. He was indeed far taller than anyone, which gave people an intimidating air. Jarl Career said you are well aware of the issues caused by Jarl Skald. Mind to fill us in about your opinion in these matters? Torg asked. John smiled and nodded. Gladly, but this will take a while, John said and clapped his hand twice. A large light screen appeared beside him, and he fixed it in front of the lute. Images appeared and a video started to play. Let's start from the beginning. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 320 The Assembly 2. This is an extra of 5000k vote. Be sure to leave comments, you wankers, and Ramadan Kareem. Happy Ramadan. A light screen appeared in the middle of the throne room of the Blue Palace. John stood by it and looked at the people around him. As expected, undeveloped monkeys. He pointed to the screen and series of images appeared. This is Winterhold. A map appeared on the light screen. This is the Pale and this is Jalmarch. The map expanded and some animated scenes started to appear. During the last month, Jarl Skald sent his cavalrymen to harass the giants all around the Pale, driving them to migrate east towards Winterhold. We are not aware of the situation around in Jalmarch, but I think some giants surely appeared there. The western part of Winterhold is a well-monitored area that a lot of refugees come through, and there are many rescue outposts stationed around. As the giants were forced to leave their natural habitat, they mostly feel agitated and unsafe, causing their normal calm, easygoing nature to turn aggressive. We even witnessed giants fighting over territory, and let me tell you this, you don't want to be between giants witnessing each other. See that poor guy. I don't know how on Nirn this happened, but once he took a giant club and was sent to Sovngarde, like literally sent up there to heaven. No one saw him landing. The light screen showed footage of a guard getting hit but a giant's club and getting sent way up the sky. At first, the people present saw the light screen and felt that it is not appropriate to make a magic show in front of the High King. Turns out the magic show was a form of a presentation, then pictures showed up and everyone got interested in the magical device. The footage and sounds came from it, and it was the last straw for them. They were totally focusing on the screen until they saw a giant sending a man to the sky and got cold sweat. That thing that John showed them was a famous bug from the game called Skyrim Space Project. John himself never thought that he would show something like that to the High King of all people. All in all, we are having serious problems with giants sending people to the sky. The world is going crazy. What else? Horses walking up walls of mountains? Well, we found a solution for the giants by contacting the druids from the cult of Kine and calling them over to talk some sense into the giants, as well as preparing places for them to settle. Winterhold is not really suited for that new kind of wildlife, but we hope it brings changes for the better. Regarding the zealots being sent by the cult of Talos, the populace in Winterhold and Neosarthal is Nordic but have been mixed really well with the other races such as Dark Elves, Wood Elves, Bretons and Imperials. Believe it or not, we have some High Elves too, and their backgrounds are clean and closely monitored. The zealots are mostly not that welcome in taverns or public establishments, but we keep them monitored and in check with a simple agreement to not go as far as to cause riots and problems. Punishments are severe for the troublemakers, so everything is going according to the system. We will be happy to lend a hand to Jalmarch if they ever needed to adopt our method. John finished his presentation that included a lot of footages, diagrams, numbers and lots of videos. He finished, took the light screen back to the cube with a single clap and returned to his seat. That was. Falk Firebeard spoke out of line, then took out a paper and quill. Very enlightening. He started to copy what all he noted. Some Imperial assistants also started copying what they saw and had some heated low conversations while glancing at John. John's plan was going smoothly. He had a lot in mind, and this assembly was a great place to forge many alliances, as all he was doing as of late was just making enemies. He is the kind who like to hide his power and technology to keep them for himself, but the light screen is not that much of technology to him, even though who would see it for the first time would lose her marbles. Showing off one's hidden cards may be a bad thing, but nations always showcase their strength and ability to solve problems for recognition. Being recognized by other strong individuals has many benefits, and John was after those strong people. By understanding what Winterhold and the Dare Dragon Company are capable of right now, it sure attracted a lot of attention. The High King for starter was now fully interested. Count Pavo, the Imperial envoy, was also looking at John as someone he needs to reassess. Thongvar Silverblood started to feel agitated with the new player that seemed to not be favoring Ulfric. Viarmo, the Bard's College headmaster, was also reassessing John. Erikr was now holding a larger grudge at John for stealing the limelight, and Jarl Sigir of Falkreath was glaring at John as someone who is younger than him and didn't get embarrassed. Way he got. Thane John Dare, that was amazing. Mind if we talk in the first break? High King Torg said. The who were ready to talk with John as soon as the break starts were all glaring at him thinking, you are playing dirty just because you are the High King and beating us to him? Of course it would be my honor, my king, John said. Good. Jarl Idgord, I think you can at least do something about the zealots for now. I will try, my king. Good, the next matter we need to attend to will be the trades, but that will be left for after the break. Viarmo brought many bards here, so please, entertain yourself. Torg said and stood up, walking away. The Jarls and the Thanes, as well as the envoys and the people associated with the event, all stood up and headed to the foot tables and the drinks that were prepared for the event. John was always fond of mammoth steak, and there he found himself. I knew I would see you here. A voice called for him. Oh, if it is not Miss Vici. How can I be of help? John turned around to meet Vittoria Vici. You don't miss a chance to steal the limelight, do you? Part of the job, Miss Vici. The face of the Dare Dragon Company should always be bright and glimmering. Good, you the type who will survive in a world of business, but there are some things that you are missing. Oh, please enlighten me. You need friends, friends of friends and friends of friends of friends. Up until now, you managed to hole yourself up in Winterhold and swallow the big hunt all for yourself. Not sure how you managed to take Jarl career in your pocket, but people are already flocking around him trying to hinder you. Don't you think you should keep an eye on that? John and Vittoria turned around to see Thane Erikr talking with Jarl career. The former was forcing some wine to the latter, who seemed to be trying to get away as soon as possible. Erikr, that clown can kiss my red-haired ass, John said and turned his head away. Vittoria always spilled out the wine she was drinking and her eyes all turned tear. John patted her back and over her a handkerchief. Thank you, you truly are not worried about your golden goose. Why would I? So it is true. The rumor about you, controlling Jarl career with magic? Excuse me? John feigned ignorance. Of course, there was that rumor from a long time ago, but John was not even bothering with it now. Listen, John. This is serious. Most of the people around here believe in that rumor, especially after what Jarl career said about the esteemed mages. Problems will soon come after you after this break. Baseless accusations. Simply trying to undermine my efforts of turning Jarl career against the pirates of the Blood Horkers. Vittoria looked at John with narrowed eyes and sighed. It will be a serious crime if the rumor is true. Unlawful acquisition of power is a serious crime. Even if the High King and some Jarls are fond of you, they won't simply ignore it once it is proved. Humph! John snorted and acted high and mighty. I am glad that you are looking out for a business partner, but as a bed partner, haven't you missed me? Even a little? This is the Blue Palace, John. Don't. I heard the Pelagius wing is empty. What? It is haunted. Don't worry, my uncle has already left the place. What? My uncle, he loved to haunt strange places. Palaces, lakes, mines, mostly mines. He is a white-haired gentleman with a cane and a purple suit. Very lovable if you ask me, but can be very moody. Stop talking about your damn uncle. We are in the palace, damn it. Meet me at the inn tonight, Vittoria said and looked around to check if anyone overheard them. The uncle and Pelagius wing. Were John referring to the Daedric quest of Sheogorath in the game? To access the mind realm of Emperor Pelagius and meet Sheogorath in the game, one must enter the Blue Palace of Solitude and go into the Pelagius Wing, which is sealed, because it was haunted, and of course the reason was Sheoth. Hey, let me introduce you to someone, Vittoria said and led John to another table. John, I introduce you to Uncle Pavoacius, a count in the Imperial Court and the ambassador of the Empire in Skyrim. Uncle, this is my friend Thane John Dare, the acting military viscount of Winterhold. A pleasure to meet you, sir. Oh, Thane John, a pleasure indeed. We were just talking about you. John Dare and Pavoacius shook hands. These are my assistants Saurus and Lita. We were just discussing the presentation you did, and we've got to admit, this was something very new to us. Mind quenching our curiosity? Ahaha, I'd be glad. John took out a smaller light screen, that was as large as a tablet device, and started explaining it to Ambassador Pavo, then used it to explain the businesses of the company to the ambassador of the Empire. Ambassador Pavo was surely a strong character, and tried to comprehend John's abilities as fast as he could to make an overall assessment. John didn't mind that, as it was his goal from the start, and agreed to answer the questions with convenient answers to himself. Unlike the Nords, who looked at magic with eyes of caution then looked away from it, the Imperials were a completely different story. They tried their best to comprehend the light screens and the abilities of John. I think for a military viscount such as yourself, you indeed go beyond the normal expectations. On behalf of His Imperial Majesty, I would like you to work with the Empire more in the future. Please consider my invitation. There is so much potential to your work, and so much the Empire can do for you. Thank you, Sir Count. John noticed that the Imperials were trying to address him as Military Viscount rather than Thane, which is referring for them, showing that they recognize his value. Thane and Military Viscount are basically the same titles, but one is Nordic and the other is Imperial. The ambassador was surely trying to rope John to the side of the Empire. The benefits following that decision will surely be high, as John's power may extend beyond his area of jurisdiction and become a full Empire nobleman. As the two ended their conversation, John and Vittoria started to look for another place to chat in. What are the chances I talk about my uncle and you introduce me to yours? Haha, very funny. Excuse me, Thane John. Someone interrupted John and Vittoria's chat. It was none other than Falk Firebeard. High King Torrig is ready to meet you in his study, if you please. Steward Falk, I will be honored. If you excuse me, Miss Vici. Thank you, Thane John. Falk Firebeard and John Dare headed away from the throne room to a hallway leading to the inner parts of the palace. As two red-haired gentlemen, they got acquainted really well. Falk Firebeard was always fond of John's methods, since his job title became the administrator of the General Affairs Department. He simply can't live without that title anymore. As soon as John and Falk reached a certain door, John was allowed into the study. There, he found a big library and a central table with a few seats around it. There was a Nord gentleman sitting on a chair and checking a few cards with his hand. High King Torrig looked up to John and spoke. So, which deck the creator of Gwent prefers to play with? PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 321 The Assembly 3. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. Which deck the creator of Gwent prefers to play with? The king asked. John smiled and walked to a chair. Torrig nodded and John sat down while moving his robe to the side. Skyrim deck. A patriot? Well, I am the High King, so I should represent my nation anyway. Skyrim against Skyrim. What a bad omen. The king sighed. Haha. I can't even disagree. John felt the irony. In the assembly of How to Prevent Skyrim from Falling to a Civil War, this Gwent match is being a Skyrim deck against another. Jon and Torg took out their cards and put it against each other. Usually there is a referee, Jon said. Yes, Falk. My king. Would you mind if you become our referee? It would be my pleasure. Falk took the third chair and the three gentlemen nodded to each other and handed the decks to Falk to check them. I must say, I was quite surprised by the way you presented the problem Jarlskald is causing. You have 1/9 of Skyrim well monitored and under your control. Must be quiet the labor. I am just doing what a Thane should do, be the vigilant eye and enforce the Hold's law as well as making sure that life is fair and people are happy, Jon said. So you provide them jobs under your business and make sure that no one competes with you in the Hold you serve? Torg said in a questioning tone. Jon smiled and replied. Couldn't have found any better way to take care of those folk. People get greedy when they get power and can't afford an enemy in a wounded Hold that is being rebuilt. Gods know how many years will it take for the Hold to be back on its feet again. That's why one should be wary of greedy people. And does the rule include you? It includes everyone. My place and my position give me both the freedom and the limits I need. Ah, I see. Ah. Jon's answer was right to Torg's worries. Jon could read the mood and Torg could read the meaning of words. Just like any other ruler, Torg should be worried if a force grew too much under his domain and it can't be controlled anymore. Jon answered him as he already understands his worries and gave him the clue of how to keep their relationship healthy. He is content with his position as a Thane and he took fully what he wants, more than that would be over the limits for the norm, and that what assured Torg. Jon was not the only person who would spread his influence through an entire Hold. Names like Maven Blackbriar, Thonar Silverblood, Alfred Battleborn, Torbjorn Shattershield, Erikr and Breiling, all these people are the tycoons of Skyrim and now Jon Dare is the new tycoon in Winterhold. No one would have bothered with Winterhold especially for Nords who are not fond with the College of Winterhold, but who would have thought the next rising star was from there. Not only was the Hold wounded by the collapse, but it also had low resources and unfriendly nature. Jon's rise was indeed suspicious. Also, the problem with Jon was not only his rise, but also how fast he grew and his mysterious origins. If he was supported by an enemy of Skyrim, then it would make a lot of sense, but Jon was very interesting to those who looked in his history. An orphan adopted by a powerful arch-wizard for his talent in magic, and all his actions proved to be for the good of Winterhold, and his loyalty to Skyrim was unstained for now. He even showed goodwill by opposing both the Stormcloak faction and the Imperial faction that have already started fighting in shadows, and his stand was bluntly neutral. The Empire couldn't hate him for it, and neither the Stormcloaks. He made it clear that Winterhold is a wounded Hold, and it is going through a rebuilding phase. Any conflict in the Hold would bring it apart, and he clearly wouldn't take that lying down. High King Torg was a supporter of peace, and a rise of a Hold like Winterhold meant that people are busy with rebuilding, rather than fighting, and that was something he wants for Skyrim. For that, he wanted to make sure that Jon was 100% in the same direction as him and not planning to join either side in the conflict yet to come. He also wanted to make sure that Jon won't fall once a true challenge comes up. To tell the truth, we were in discussion lately here in Solitude about the Jarlship of Winterhold. We wanted to move the title to a man more capable than Jarl Career. Our only candidate was you. I see you either had to stop me or support me. Right? We didn't know how to stop you quietly though. The person we hoped we can use had cut contacts with us. Torg and Jon were speaking bluntly rather casually. You mean Kralder? I killed him a long time ago. Torg, who was acting cool, couldn't keep up the act, and Falk, who was checking the Gwent cards, froze and his eyes moved to Jon. Another hidden presence in the room showed signs of energy that couldn't escape the senses of an energy junkie like Jon. What? He was spying for Erikr. John said it as it was something really natural. Torg, Falk and the third present sighed and shook their heads. John was as brutal as the rumors. Kralder was indeed a spy of Erikr. Before John would come to Winterhold, Kralder was a Nord nobleman whose family fell from glory after the Great Collapse. He was recruited by Erikr to make connections with the College of Winterhold, as Erikr was already aiming for the big fish that everyone ignored. Kralder was to replace Jarl Career in the game if the Imperials ever take control of the Winterhold, and John was aware to all of that. He was also aware that if by any chance Kralder became the Jarl, then Career managed to come back, Kralder will get banished to solitude and stay in Erikr's home, which all revealed Erikr's plot to John. John threw Kralder in the sea as soon as the latter started spying for Erikr. So you won't become the Jarl? You said you are okay with the limits you have, but Jarl Career is quite the burden, right? Torg asked. He is a breath of fresh air, John replied. He. You two seem to be getting along. Would it be that you have something on him? Why, he is my Jarl. How come I betray the man who employed me? Oh, fine, I won't pursue the subject any longer. Falk, you took your sweet time. How are the cards? I am not sure how to say this. Falk was looking at the cards with a weird face. I knew it. The creator of Gwent must have all the rare hero cards, Torg said with a disappointed face. Quite the opposite actually. Not that much rare cards, but what? Thane John is playing with only 20 cards other than the God card. Only 20. That's the minimum. Torg looked at John thinking he was underestimating him. It is my strategy, John said. But 20 cards means you don't have decoy cards or weather cards or even a horn card. John nodded with a smile. Gwent had many types of cards. All of them were categorized as warrior, thief and mage as the three major star constellations. They were also categorized as god cards, the ones necessary for every player, and each carry a blessing. One must have one and only one, no less no more. Hero cards, which are the ones that has both power, ability and can't be weakened. Normal cards, which are not as protected or powerful but may have one of the various abilities like Bond, Resurrection, Spying, Summoning, Multiclass, Horn or Scorching, or can have no ability at all. Weather cards, whose role is to debuff a whole raw of both allies or enemies depending on type, as Frost debuffs the warriors, Storm with the archers and Rain with the mages. Decoy cards, which are used to take back cards one already played. Horn cards, which are used to buff a whole lane of a single type, and finally the Scorch cards, that can kill the strongest card the enemy has. John was playing with only a few hero cards, and the rest were normal cards with a wide variety of abilities. Mr. Falk, will you please? John urged Falk Firebeard to distribute the cards already. Fine, I just want to tell you, the High King is no ordinary player. He almost robbed Thane Bryling of Ismir Wolfhearth. Hero card, Falk said. Almost. Torg seemed frustrated. Oh, that's a really good card. John smiled. I am not going to lose though, John said. Suit yourself. I just want to tell you that the High King has twice as cards as you. Oh, how scary. John put his God card on the table, and so did Torg. Oh, kind card. Torg smiled. Talos card. John was taken aback by Torg's choice. It is the best. I know you gave it a good effect on purpose. He. John and Torg received 10 random cards from their deck. Falk then flipped a septim and it was heads. Torg was the one to start. I can't believe it. Torg's face was ashen. The end result was 281 to 89. John's win. John played dumb and went hot on the first round, making a big number very early, which made Torg decide to forfeit the first round to not waste cards. The second round was the real trap, when John used all his resurrection cards and spy cards to bring back more cards, and even steal cards from Torg. Torg played with 4 hero cards that barely made a score for him, while John used 3 hero cards that insanely buffed the warrior lane, relying on the normal cards that mostly started with the base value around 4, and the highest one, in the end, was 32. John's small amount of cards were utilized to the fullest, bringing back all the cards he played with at the first round and all the cards in the rest of the deck, while Torg was stuck to his nose. "I think I can't go against the one who created the game after all," Torg said. "I simply recreated the idea and made the card. The rules are not mine," John said as he took back his cards. "I see. This was truly a good game. I was more focused than ever," Torg said with a smile. John was sighing from inside. Torg was way too easy compared to Sheoth. Sheoth insisted that he would recreate the Shivering Isles deck all by himself and made an unfathomable deck that can truly only be played by mad people. The deck was so funny and infuriating at the same time. Compared to that, Torg was easy to bully. "So, have you thought about it?" Torg asked. "Excuse me. The Jarlship of Winterhold. It is yours if you want it." John shook his head. "Too many responsibilities. I merely want to adventure and study magic in the coming phase of my life, so I don't think I can run a hold this thoroughly in the future anyway. The company can run itself, and I created its system, so I know how it works, but the Jarlship requires more than just the law of the hold, but also the laws of Skyrim and the Empire, rather than the decisions that I don't want to burden my sleep with. Jarl career will do just fine." John declined the offer one last time. Torg sighed and nodded. He talked with John about various things before the latter left the study. "Did he pass?" Falk asked. "He wasn't lying," a voice replied, and a woman appeared in the room. Torg and Falk looked at her naturally as if she was here the whole time. "What do you think, Sybil?" Torg asked. "He is a bit honest about not wanting the Jarlship. He also wasn't lying about anything else." "Whoa. Not at all?" Falk asked. "He may look peaceful and well-natured, but he is dangerous," Sybil said. "How so?" Torg asked. "He detected me." Torg and Falk were taken aback. No one can simply detect Sybil. After all, she is a vampire. The High King knew that, and Falk was also well aware. After all, Sybil's role was far too important for the sake of many things in this hold. "What do you advise?" Torg asked. Sybil thought and sighed. "He is a troublemaker, but he is a good friend. He won't betray you first. The firemen's always honored their words, and he seemed like a typical one to me. Also, his origins check came out. Before he was to be admitted to Riften Orphanage, his parents were living outside Skyrim. The trail led us to Morrowind. It seems that they died around 4E182 when they were doing some work for the clan. Or so the public story goes." "Is that so?" "There is a lot of mystery around him. I know you wanted to have him as our man, but he is comfortable where he is, and as he said, it will limit his authorities but widen his freedom. He will turn 18 after 2 months. He still has a lot of potential, and we can wait. Let Eriker go wild on him and see how he solves it." Torg and Falk nodded. "Fine, let's wait and see. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon.com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.